Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Hi, my name is Bill St Clair. I first met Howard, or saw Howard, in 1961. He was a gym rat. We went to scrimmage NFA. His dad, a venerable coach in Connecticut, was there, and I saw this little 5'3", 101-pound kid, and I said to Mac Howard, "Who is that kid?" He said, "That's Coach Dickenman's son." I said, "Well, he must have been fooling around when they passed out bodies." Howie, have a great night.
Excellent. How about you?
I'm Roy Dolgus. I first met Howie in 1968 at Central, and for some reason, I thought Howie and we hit it off. We had a lot of things in common, it seemed like. Every time we talked about something, he said, "Yeah, I went through that," or "I went through it." We maintained our friendship over the years, and I remember one story was when I graduated high school. When I graduated from Central, I went and I got a brand new suit. It was like a white suit. I go to graduation, I have a big party afterward, and here comes Howie with the same suit that I had on. Exactly the same suit. We're both about the same height, so it seems like we have a lot in common. And I want to wish Howie the best. He's been a good friend over the years, and he deserves everything he's getting. Thank you.
My name is Keith Moyer, and I first met Howie when I transferred from East Texas State University to Central. I had the pleasure of playing basketball with Howie for 2 years. Then I left Central, entered the military, and when I came back, Howie and I were roommates. And I have to remember, Howie, Albert the Monkey. Do you remember when I built the cage in our apartment and you had that spider monkey running around? I'll never forget it. You were a great card player, and you and I had so much fun. I just wish you all the best, and only wish that things would work out even better for you.
Thank you guys so much. How about these guys over here? Excuse me, we're looking. Hi, it's good to see
Joe
all
Lombardo.
of you. Hi, Joe Lombardo.
You treated?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
Trita.
okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us here.
Yes. Hi, I'm Trita.
Susan, I'm
Hi,
Joe's wife.
Hi, a pleasure meeting you.
That's the guy you want to interview right here.
Anthony.
That's
So
Anthony
I'd like to
Latino.
ask the three of you all, how do you know Howie or Howard, and why was it so important for you to be here tonight? Who wants to start?
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm a New Britain boy, and I used to watch Howie when I was a little boy.
Okay.
Play at Central, and then as life goes along, I became a basketball coach, and we worked together at Central Connecticut Basketball School, Connecticut Basketball School in Colchester under Bill Dietrich and Nick McCarchick. So we got to be pretty close that way. And then when I became a head coach at Goodwin Tech, Howie always followed my career. And then I became director of the Police Athletic League. Howie became the head basketball coach at Central, and we did a lot of things together with the kids and with Steve Peichel, Anthony Latina.
That's wonderful.
So, and then as we go full circle now, I'm in charge of the New Britain Sports Hall of Fame. Howie's in the Hall of Fame, so we're always, Howie's one of the best guys you ever want to meet.
That's great.
That's why we're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So glad you all are
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, just that I've seen Howie quite a few times out with my husband, and he's always been a great guy, very polite and very nice.
Wonderful. Thank you. How about you, Coach
I
Latina?
can tell you war stories.
Well, mine's a little more personal. And I've said this many times. I owe Coach D my career. He gave me my first opportunity. He took a chance on me, and I will always appreciate that. Remember that. And I always say this. When Howie Dickenman hires you in coaching, it gives you instant credibility. And I always say I had instant credibility well before I probably deserved it. so it's, obviously it was changed everything.
Exactly.
So And then, of course, since then, he's been a great mentor. While I was there, and certainly afterwards, I can always lean on him. So, my life would be very different if it wasn't for Coach D, and I can't say necessarily for the better. So, I'm very, very appreciative, very thankful for our friendship and all he's done for me. So.
Excellent. And Anthony is now the head coach at Sacred Heart University, men's basketball coach. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Frida.
And Jody, we spent quite a bit of time.
Yeah, through the years.
Anthony's wife, who now works for the mayor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hearing from the mayor tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you
be a
so
great
much.
night.
Thank you.
Oh, I go way, way back with Coach D. And it started in our early years at UConn, both his and mine. And Phil was covering for the JI. And he's been my neighbor, my walking buddy, my confidant, my dear friend. And I love him. And I'm so excited that this night has been put together. And I want to thank you, my sweetheart, my best buddy ever.
My best buddy.
My best buddy ever, for putting it together,
Thank you.
because it just is going to be a great night. We're going to have a lot
This
of
is
fun.
team effort.
Yeah.
How about you?
Boy, I don't even know the year. I'm back with Howie. It's way back in the early UConn days. He had just come there, I think.
Yeah.
And I was covering the team, as Pat said, and we became fast friends. I had seen Howie play at Central when I was a kid. Oh yes, I was a long time ago. He was the dirtiest player. No,
Let's keep it clean.
The truth comes out.
but we started. The assistant coaches and the reporters. They're the ones that make it work. And going on recruiting trips with Howie, and through the years, on and off the court, he's been a great friend. There is no better friend than Howie Dickenman for anybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Great.
It's
Well, we're glad to have you all.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Pat Miser and Phil Charles.
Thank you. First of all, it's been 50 years, so we pushed 50 years through, and it's always important to be around Howie. Some reason we have this connection that when we're together, we always have a good time. So this is an easy one for me. I jump in a car, I come up here all the time.
Wonderful.
It's always
we're
good to
sorry
be here.
Barb couldn't be here.
Yes, I know.
But we're
She
very
sends her
excited.
best to Howie and to you.
Excellent.
All right.
Glad you're here.
All right.
All right. Thank you. That is our buddy Pete Cilio. So we have here, this is Avelius, and we want to ask you a little bit about why you're here tonight, why being here tonight was so important for you and Bert, and also how do you know Howard or Howie?
I've known Howard for over 40 years, I guess. Believe it or not, we had a class at Central Connecticut, and a class that we both shouldn't have been in. But anyways, we played flag football together. We played softball together. Howie's a great friend. I would not miss this. He's a loyal, and he's just a true friend. I wouldn't miss this. Howie's a great guy. That's why we're here.
Great. Well, this is Coach Velius, big-time coach, baseball where again?
Berlin, Connecticut.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great,
Yeah.
great. We want to know, how do you know Howard or Howie, and why was it so important for you to be here tonight? You want to start with Kenny here?
Okay. One of his college roommates and after was a good friend of mine, and met him over 40 years ago. So we've remained friends for all that year, and I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Well, Howie and I share a birthday, and through my husband, that's how I met Howie, and that's why I'm very happy to be here and hope that the evening goes excellently for him.
Thank you. And how about you, Sonia?
Hi. I know Howie through my husband's softball team, the Garden House softball team, and we've been friends for 40 years. And here you go.
And it's ditto for the G House softball team.
The best in New England.
And we used to laugh until our sides ached. There's nobody like Howard. So happy to be here, Howard.
Yes, he did.
And the Garden House team. So these are the Garden House guys.
Okay, Howie, congratulations. Dan Roberts, you remember, long time ago, because we are in the AARP club. Back we caught our varsity letters, but Howard and I go back a long way. We started out our softball career with Garden House Cafe when Howie was the big pickup out of Norwich. Even though, come to say, how could be a big pickup when he can hit with a skinny little white wooden bat? And he always used to take two and go to right field. Right, Pete? He couldn't hit. All talk. Better basketball player than a softball. Oh, no. But Howie, congratulations, and wish you all the best.
This is Howie or Howard's daughter, and why being here is so important to you. And just tell us in your own words a little bit about what this night means to you and what do you think it means to your dad.
This night is very special to me, Dad. I am so happy to be able to be here to honor you and your career as a basketball coach and the many years that you have put in and all the people's lives that you have touched, as there are so many people here, to also celebrate with you. So, of course, I can't think of a better person and a better place to be. So I love you very, very much, Dad, with all of my heart. And I can't wait to celebrate with you tonight.
Chris, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I'll just say thank you for being such a great grandfather to our children. Such a great grandfather, always there every Sunday, no matter what. And just a very special man, and really appreciate all you do. Cheers to you for tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. This is Chris, and this is Erica Dickenman. Jody Del Mastro.
Come on in, grab a seat so we can get started.
Guest tonight, how you know Howard, some people call him Howie, and why is being here tonight so important to you?
Well, first of all, I've known Howard or Howie from a long, long time ago, back from the Hose Company days in the early 70s. Wow. Long time. Wow. So I'm here to celebrate one of the greatest men I've ever met, and I'm very proud to call him my friend, and that's the truth.
We're so glad you're here.
And I'm going to say ditto to that. I call him Howie. He's a dear friend of ours, and now a dear friend of Danny's parents and our family from coming to all of our family gatherings, and you too. So we're thrilled to be here.
Thank you. So glad you are here.
Thank you.
I met Howie many years ago. He came to many times to the Franciscan nuns in Meriden have an annual dinner, and besides being with UConn, as assistant basketball coach at UConn, I got to meet Howie, and our friendship just stayed on. He was such a gentleman. And then we went to Central Connecticut to coach. I was very happy for him, and he's a great guy is all I can say. Very simple. Everybody should be like Howie Dickenman.
Thank you so much.
Always a gentleman.
Really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
We have Coach Kevin Kehoe from Cheshire Academy, which is where Howie Dickenman spent a PG year. We have Coach Anthony Anderson, who is one of the assistants currently at Central Connecticut. And then we have Chris Kehoe, the wife of Coach Kehoe. So I'm asking this question.
Okay.
How do you know Howie Dickenman? And why is being here tonight so important to you? Who would like to start?
Coach Kehoe's going to actually start this.
Obviously, I know Coach Dickenman from basketball. Coach and I first met in 1975 on an outdoor basketball court in Montville, Connecticut, and that's why I'm here today, because from 1975 to right now, he's one of the most impactful guys that I've ever met, not only on the basketball court, but as a human being, and I'm here to honor Coach.
I was blessed to meet Coach when I actually took the job here last year, 1 year ago, 2 weeks ago. As a matter of fact, heard about him, knew about him. I call him the man, the myth, the legend. That's who he is. But love that guy. Can't say enough about him.
I'm here to support any coach. I think it's awesome that these people are helping kids get to the next level, regardless of what level they want to be in. So for my husband going from high school into college, Howie going from college to whatever they want to believe in. But I think it's wonderful for the coaches and what they're doing for student athletes.
Okay.
Howie graduated a few years ahead of me.
Okay.
So I was a student when he was basically the cap. I don't know if he was captain, but of the team.
Okay.
The thing with Howie, I have seen him ascend from where he was as a player to a coach at UConn, to the head coach at UConn. And what impresses me the most about him is the people he mentored. And everyone Like even in my case, he'll call my daughter on her birthday. And it's not only, but it's the little things. He's so well respected and loved by everyone. He really is, and I can only say good things about him. Really,
Great.
he really
And
is.
you've known him how long?
Oh, since 1967.
And just remind us your name.
My name?
Yes.
Jim Jost.
Jim Jost.
I worked with him at Central.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you so
good.
much. We're so glad
Thank
you
you.
could make it today.
Thank you.
I started skipping school at the age of 7. My mom didn't realize until she actually went to go pick up my notes. And she realized I was getting left back. After that, I started hanging out with the wrong crew. I ended up in jail 3 times. Parents, what I'm trying to say is keep on top of your kids. Make sure you call, make sure you do what you gotta do. You know, parents, school is important. It's a big deal.
So this is Michael Ariema and Caitlin Garrity. So we're going around trying to find out why people feel like being here tonight is so important and how people know Howie Dickenman.
Yeah. Well, Howie's my godfather, so he's known me longer than I've known him, I guess, since I don't remember when he met me when I was a little kid. But, I mean, Howie's the best. What can you say? I mean, I grew up going to his basketball camps, and it's always been a huge inspiration in my life in terms of kind of raised me to be a young man, taught me a lot of life lessons. And funny thing is, when I was growing up, getting recruited to play basketball, my dad always said, I don't care if Howie's the only guy that offers you a scholarship, I'm not letting you go play for him. So I think he was scared of how he would treat me. But no, Howie's, I mean, there's nothing you could say about a guy like that already probably hasn't been said already. But huge inspiration in my life from basketball to, developing young men and what, I can attest to the person that he is. And it was really important for me to be here to, support everything that he did. And the turnout shows you just, the kind of guy he is. So I think it's important for everybody to be here, I think. Yeah, it's great.
Do you have anything you want to add, Caitlin? On the spot.
I've heard a lot of great things about him just through Mike and his family, so I'm happy to be here to support him.
I met Howie through Ed, and when we got engaged, Howard sent me flowers, and I will never forget that. It was the most beautiful gesture that anyone did, and it just warmed my heart, and I'll love him forever.
Yeah. Well, Howard is such, once you get past that crusty exterior, he has a heart of gold. I mean, he has been there. He was there with me during bad times, good times, always been a true friend. And as you know, Trita, he has a real soft spot, and I'm sure he appreciates everything you've done to make this night happen. It's going to be a great fun, and I love him. What can I say?
Wonderful. Ed is one of the roasters tonight, so this is all the good stuff he's saying. I'm
Yes.
sure later
I have my props.
Oh boy.
I have my props.
We'll get to hear more about that later.
Yes.
But thank you all. So glad
Thanks,
you're here.
Trita.
Okay.
Well, Howie and I go back even before that.
Your name is?
George Kowecki, and I'm a New Britain resident. Howie played softball in town. He played some flag football in town. I played flag football against him. And then, of course, I had the opportunity to work with him at Central, which was a good relationship. Sometimes he would ask me to work with his kids so they would get a little quicker. And I says, I don't have that magic bullet, but I'll try.
Okay.
And he accepted that, so that was good.
That's great.
And that's why we're here.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for being here tonight.
I was the head basketball coach at Howie's alma mater, Norwich Free Academy, where his dad also was the head coach. As soon as I became the head coach, the first guy to call me was Howie Dickenman to congratulate me. For as long as I was the head coach, I would always get a note whether the season was good or the season was bad. He came down and spoke to our kids at a couple basketball banquets. He never forgot where he came from. I'm very grateful to Howie and the whole NFA tradition. Hugh Campbell. Yeah, you're welcome.
And how about you? You want to answer any of those questions?
Oh, sure. Me and Howard go.
Who you are.
I'm Harvey, and I've been friends with Howie for about 40 years. And we used to do a lot of Wrigley field trips together. You know? We used to do a lot of Wrigley field trips and everything. And I'm trying to keep this as rated G as much as I can.
Baseball fan.
Baseball fan, big fan. We went to see the Cardinals a few times and stuff because he's a huge Cardinal fan.
And you've known him how long?
Over 40 years.
Over 40 years.
Yeah.
And why is being here tonight so important to you?
Well, because it puts an end to his career, and I love to see him get roasted by some of these guys. I like to see his butt in the flames, you know?
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
My name is Pat Tirigo, and I know Howard. My husband Bob played basketball at CCSU with him. We've known him for like 42 years. Yeah, a long time, huh? I hated to even say that number. But yeah, and I'm thrilled to be here. I think it's a great honor. I think he's very deserving, and Bob couldn't be here today, so I'm here on his behalf. So, yeah. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for coming.
Oh,
how about you, CJ?
Well, I've known Howie since 1965 when we came in Central, C.J. Jones, and thanks to Howie, I'm the MC tonight, so there's a lot of stories that people haven't heard that I'll be able to tell tonight, and I will enjoy that. But I also know that Howie has the last laugh, so I got to get everything in and get it in good.
Hi, I'm Linda Jones. I'm Charlie's wife. Howie is one of the most compassionate people. He never forgets your birthday. He's always there when you're sick, when you need something. He's just one of the best people in the whole world. I love him dearly. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Howie, it's Paul and Annie Resitaritz, and so glad to be here tonight to honor your career. You've done so much for Central over the years. I have a memory of the first time I helped you recruit somebody and gotten a handwritten note back. And you're a class act. You've always done a great job. I enjoyed being your boss for a few months there as the interim athletic director and working together. You're a tremendous guy, and actually have had great influence on my own life as well as others. I probably never would have had the opportunity to be the interim athletic director if you weren't winning and I was getting involved. Congratulations on a great career.
My name is Mary Jo Phelps. And I know Howie because Anthony Latina was his assistant coach and introduced our daughter and our son-in-law when our son-in-law was an assistant at Central Connecticut.
Steve Phelps, and I'm a high school coach in Bristol and known Coach D for an awful long time. Probably observed more of his practices and stole more of his notes from probably some of the guys that played for him. We also do a little business together, and Coach D is he's one of a kind, broke the mold, and just it's an honor to be associated and affiliated and to call him a friend.
I'm Jody Latina, and Coach Dickenman actually was my husband Anthony's boss for 8 years, which is also how Trita and I have become very, very good friends. Anthony worked at Central Connecticut State University with the men's basketball program, and ironically, come full circle, now here we are 15 years later, and I am the chief of staff for the mayor of New Britain, Aaron Stewart, and Kim and Josephine are here tonight.
Hi, how are you?
We're honoring Coach, and Coach, from the graciousness of his heart, has decided that he wanted some of the proceeds tonight to go to the Mayor's Trophy Charitable Fund, which helps out all New Britain kids. And so we're just blessed to be here tonight and to be part of this great moment and to honor a legend.
And Mayor Aaron Stewart will be one of the speakers. So we're really looking forward to it. Thank you all so very much.
I went all the way up to the 12th grade. And I was skipping school. I was selling. I was out there doing bad things because I thought I could just get the fast way. My aunt knew. She came busting at me, came hitting, knocking me upside the head, telling me, to stay in school because they told her, they called in. Parents, you got to keep on top of your kids because at the end of the day, they got to stay in school for the future, for y'all and your family to grow. Stay in school, it's a big deal.
I'm Peter Janakis. I was a teammate of Howie's. I
back at Central Connecticut back in the late 60s. And this is my wife, Frida.
Hello.
And it's a pleasure to be here. And I've been friends with Howie for almost 50 years now, I guess. And I followed his career, his brilliant career, all these years. And it's a shame to see him retire, but it's so nice to be here and see him honored by all these people that I'm sure are inside. I haven't been inside yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a who's who of New England basketball anyways.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Thank you, Howie, for keeping us in the loop, and we're really happy that you're playing Santa Claus.
Yeah, tell him the last time he played Santa for our grandkids this Christmas, this past Christmas.
Driving Santa Claus
She was the
around.
driver, because
All the best. Wonderful retirement, and stay healthy.
Thank you. My name is Fran Kazardi, Fran Ribzik Kazardi, and I started knowing Howie from the time that Dave, my first husband, knew Howie, and it was his best friend. So we've been together and friends forever, and I love Howie. He's been so good to me, and the most memorable times I've had is with the Garden House and our trips at the Garden House, and also down the beach, and where we had picnics, and Howard brought tons of lobsters.
I was recruited by Coach Dickenman in '96. Basically his first class. Came to Barbados to see me, and it's been a true blessing, because other than that scholarship, there were no other scholarship offers. There were, Coach D gave me the opportunity to come to Central Connecticut, and we repaid him by going to the NCAA tournament our senior year. And then he also gave me the opportunity to coach, But, as life goes, things happen. So, it's a blessing to be here to support him. And, he's not getting any younger. We all aren't getting any younger, And it's just a blessing to be here and support him.
Coach Dickenman was good friends with my father, who passed away 27 years ago. And there's not a day that I know I haven't been able to call him for something I need since that day happened. So not only is he a role model, a father figure, he's an asset to this state, and I'm lucky to know such an important person, respected person.
Great. So, John Holt, we are so glad you could be here.
I'm glad to be here. What a night it promises to be.
What a night. So we want to chronicle this evening. And we're trying to get stories. We're trying to find out how people know Howie, Coach D, Howard, and why being here tonight is so important.
He's a legend. He's a Connecticut legend, from his Norwich days to his Yukon days to his Central days. And coming from the sportscasting world, where we were often dealing with Howie in good times and bad, he's a gentleman. Yes. He's a gentleman, and he has the most memorable voice in Connecticut. Yes. We used to do impersonations, in the sports department. And now, of course, with his new life post-retirement, dabbling as Santa Claus.
Yes, and you covered him.
What a joy to cover that story. And he's got such a big heart. He's a class act. Anybody who meets him just feels a connection. He's down to earth. He's a name that so many sports fans know, but he is who he is, the guy from Norwich. Yes. And that's so charming about him.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to
We're
tonight.
We're so glad you could be
it's
here.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you. Paul Schlickman is the current AD at Central Connecticut State University. Paul, we're trying to chronicle this evening. And we just wondered if you could share a few words about why this event is so important.
Yep.
And how you want to share. What would you like to share?
Well, I would say this first, Coach. You need to know, and I will say this later, but the young lady to my right has been extraordinary in the work she has done to try and help us put all these details together and make this a memorable night for you. A lot of people worked hard, but it was a complete labor of love for her in particular. So kudos to you for everything you did. It's been exceptional.
It's a team effort.
There's no way we could have gone without doing something of this nature to recognize everything that you have meant to Central over the course of your career as a student athlete. You're a Hall of Famer, your 20-year head coaching career, the the list is endless in terms of the accolades, but more importantly, what you mean to Central as an institution. So it's been a privilege and an honor to work with you, and I certainly look forward to working with you as you continue your role in our department with your emeritus status, and I think even better things are ahead, I hope. So
Thank you.
We look forward to a great night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
I see that Howie has finally arrived, so I guess we can begin the program.
Pat Sellers is a former assistant coach under Coach Howie Dickenman, and we are thrilled that you could be here from Chicago. We're trying to chronicle this evening. We'd like to have you share a story about Coach, how long you've known him, and why he's being here tonight so important to you.
Well, Coach, I actually met Coach D. His best friend was Dave Rivzik. Coach Rivzik recruited me to Central Connecticut, and then he actually gave Coach D the news about my brother in South Carolina, so he recruited my brother to UConn. So we've known each other probably since I was about 18 years old. And I'm happy to be here. I'm so excited. I know it's going to be a ton of stories. One of my all-time favorite stories is at Central Connecticut. We play at Monmouth, and we're on our way home. We won the game, huge win for us. And at the time, Coach D would always get on the bus. I need scores, who won, who lost? So he wanted some scores. Anthony gave him some scores. Then Anthony Latina, former assistant coach. And Anthony says, Coach, hey, hold on 1 second. We won the league. This was right at the end of the season. It's like 2 games left. We won the league. We're champs. We're league champs. Coach is like, yeah, good job, fellas. He kicks back, puts his feet up, and we take the 3-hour drive back to New Britain. So we're feeling great. Get off the bus, and the SID, Tom Pinson, comes up, says, great win today, guys. And Coach D said, yeah, we won the league, right? No, you still have a lot of work to do. There's still a couple more games before we So Coach D looks at Anthony. You're the black cat, the black cat. One of the, oh my God, I love it. I love it. No, Coach D, all the best. I love you, man. Anything I can do, anything I need, please, let's get together. We'll always be friends. He's the first guy I ever worked for, and he taught me how to coach basketball the right way, right from the jump. So the things he taught me back then, I still use to this day, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Excellent. Glad to
All right,
have you.
thank you.
So you all have heard the stories. So stay tuned. It's going to be a wonderful evening. We're all here to roast Coach Dickenman, and I want you to understand he's a man who's kind, who's gentle, who's generous. He is a legend, and he is an extremely humble man. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for being here to witness and to experience this evening. Thank you.
All right, we're going to get this program started whether you're ready or not. All right. I hope that many of you had the opportunity today to read the Hartford Courant. There was an article in the Hartford Courant this morning, and it talked about this particular event. And it said that we were here tonight to honor and to roast Howie. And I'm okay with both of those. After I got through, hey, Howie. I know. Howie, let's get going, baby. This is not an overtime game. Let's go. All right, thank you. All right, now that our guest of honor has finally grabbed his seat, as I stated before, I hope that many of you saw the article in today's Current that talked about this particular event. It said we were here today to both honor and roast Howie. There was a lot of material in that particular article, so I might have to change some of the things I say tonight, and I may fluctuate between honoring him and roasting him. But after I got through reading the article about the event tonight, and I can't make this stuff up, I looked at my horoscope. And under my horoscope, how many of you look at horoscopes? How many of you are Tauruses in this room? Okay, did you look at the horoscope today? Okay. I looked at the horoscope today, and I happen to be a Taurus, and the horoscope read, and again, I can't make this up, feel free to speak up and express your views. So that's exactly what I'm going to do this evening. We're so happy to be gathered here for this event. Had this event taken place about a year ago, when maybe it should have, it would have been a nice little retirement party, and people would have had a lot of good things to say about Howard. There would probably be a few letters. Some of you wouldn't even be here because you probably would have wrote letters. For example, I got a letter from someone who said, sorry I can't be here, family event, wishing you the best in your retirement, Don Perno. And I'm sure that if this was a normal retirement event, there'd be a lot more letters. I wouldn't read them, but hopefully someone from athletics would read them. But at the end of a nice little retirement event, there would have probably been some gift for Howie. Like maybe a cruise. And now we know who that individual would be going on the cruise with Howie. If this was a couple of years back, it would be, a player to be named later. And in the end, Howie, because of his generosity, wanted to make sure this event was special and that it would go some to charity and some to basketball. So there's not a lot of money left, so there's not going to be any trips or cruises for Frida. There's not going to be any trips to Disneyland for Erica, but I do have some gifts to Howard, and we'll give them out a little bit later. Our first speaker to recognize Howie is the AD from Central Connecticut, Paul Smith.
Thank you, CJ, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody. It's great to have you all here. Clearly, by the first 5 minutes of trying to get you all in here, that guy's got the hardest job. Tonight it's like herding cats, I think, for the rest of the evening. But I did want to take a minute just to thank CJ. It's great to have him here. It's great to be on the same stage with him. There are few individuals with a greater lineage and longevity with CCSU and Blue Devil Athletics than CJ Jones, and he's been an incredibly loyal supporter and passionate supporter of our program,
and we appreciate everything he does, continues to do for our program. So, CJ, thank you for being here and being in that role tonight. I know you're all going to continue to have your drinks and your salads, but I do have a few orders of business to take care of, so if you'll bear with me a little bit, I do want to recognize a few folks. Certainly not going to try and recognize all the great folks we have in the room. I want to convey some thoughts from a couple of important individuals who were not able to be here tonight, who thought it was important that they deliver a personal message to Coach. And then I wanted to offer some personal thoughts and extend some gifts to Howie from CCSU on behalf of Blue Devil Athletics. First, I wanted to just give a shout out to the Honorable Mayor Erin Stewart. Where's Erin? Where is she? There she is, right there. Erin, as you all know, Erin's a very proud alumnus. She's a great friend to CCSU, wonderful ambassador for the university, and doing an exceptional job for the city of New Britain. So we're very thankful, and thank you, Erin, for being here tonight. I would be remiss if I did not take a minute to introduce my president, Dr. Zomatoro, over here. 13th president in our history, been on the job just since January, has had a dramatic positive impact on CCSU. Certainly taking the chair at a difficult time, but the future of CCSU is in good hands with her leadership. She's been ever present on campus, ever present at events like this, at athletic events. Just yesterday, she threw a barbecue for the entire campus at our baseball game. She had graduation this morning, and she's still here tonight. So we're very thankful for her presence tonight. We are inextricably linked to our Office of Institutional Advancement whenever we do an event like this. Dr. Chris Galligan's over at the CCSU table as well, our Vice President for Institutional Advancement. Several members of his staff who always help us out in all the logistics and those kinds of things. Brenda Albert, Charles Johnson, and Kathy Jost, thank you for your incredible help in getting things organized and getting us here tonight. CJ is going to speak at some greater length about the organizing committee who did some incredible work on tonight's event, but I would just be remiss if I didn't generally thank them for everything they did to make this happen, and in particular for Trita Collier for your amazing efforts for tonight. We had several members of my staff who did a great job in helping us put a lot of things together. Steve Valenti, Tom Pinsence, Jeff Mead, Kim Cincy all did a great job, and we thank them. As you know, these types of events it's critical to have some generous sponsors, and we have a few of those tonight. The folks from Wells Fargo, Tom Bavona, the managing director, and Robert Impaluso, the vice president. Where are they? I believe they're here tonight. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity. We appreciate it very much. The folks from Sign Pro, who hope you all got a kick out of the Howie figurines, not quite life-size, but pretty close. And then the centerpieces here, they were donated by Sign Pro, with whom we do a lot of work at Central, so we appreciate that. And then I'll just finish in a general manner about, I could go on and on listing and introducing and recognizing quote-unquote VIPs in this room, but suffice to, because it's a seemingly endless list, but suffice to say that I will speak from a personal standpoint. It's an honor to look out at this room and be in the presence of so many people who have had a positive impact and an indelible impact, not only on the game of college basketball in the state, nationally, and internationally, quite frankly, but what they have done for the business of college athletics. So they have had a transformative impact, so many of you, and ultimately so many of you, and probably most importantly, are here just because Howie is your friend. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So it's a great group. We're happy to have you here, and I thank you very much for all of you who are here. Here's where I'm going to ask for your patience a little bit, but this is important. So I have 3 messages from people, one of whom is here, 2 of whom could not be here. I was just presented this evening with a proclamation that I'm going to please take the time to read. I think I need my glasses for this one. It's from the General Assembly. It's an official citation introduced by Senator Jerry Garatana, Representative Rick Lopes, Representative William Pettit, who's here tonight. Bill, where are you? Thank you, Bill, for being here. He presented this to me this evening, and it reads as follows. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Howard B. Howie Dickenman, Jr. in recognition of your retirement after more than 40 years of coaching college basketball, including the past 20 as the head coach of the Central Connecticut State University Blue Devils men's basketball team. A 1970 graduate of CCSU, you are the only coach in CCSU history to lead the program to the NCAA Division I tournament, having guided the Blue Devils to 3 Northeast Conference championships. Your coaching and mentoring has had a lasting impact in the Connecticut sports world and beyond. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given this 20th day of May 2017 at the state capitol, Hartford, Connecticut. So what a wonderful tribute, and Dr. Pettit, thank you for delivering that tonight. The next one is pretty neat, and I'm just going to step aside and actually let you watch it. My girl Rachel here is ready. She's got it queued up and ready to go. We've got a little video for you from a very special gentleman who wanted to convey a very personal, heartfelt message to Coach.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard Blumenthal, your U.S. Senator. I am so sorry that I'm unable to attend tonight's roast for Howie Dickenman. Sorrier than you are, I know, because a lot of laughs, good humor and celebration, and a few serious moments. Howie is a wonderful coach, a great friend, and a mentor to so many. Whether as assistant coach at UConn or CCSU coach, he has been truly dedicated to the game and to his players. Howie is a true winner. Numbers and statistics, impressive as they may be, fail to tell the whole story. It's told truly in the hearts he has touched, the minds he shaped, and the lives he has transformed. He has led by example, his own tireless work ethic and incisive mind, and most of all, his big, big heart, boundless caring, and true loyalty. I first saw these qualities in working with Howie on the Interval House Men's Make a Difference, Men Against Domestic Violence program. Through this great organization, I really got to know Howie, got to see his heart. No other member of that committee, none, did more than Howie in speaking out and standing up with courage against domestic violence. He made this message part of his team building. And so I'm grateful to see that you are honoring Howie and his enduring accomplishments. He has made a tremendous impact on so many young lives, and I am deeply proud to be his friend. Have a wonderful evening, laugh a lot, celebrate, and thank you, Howie. I will see you soon.
Well, please continue to enjoy your salads, as I said before. As you all know, in April of 2016, we hired Coach Dickenman's successor, Donyell Marshall, to take the reins and lead Blue Devil basketball into the future. And there are obviously some very deep UConn ties between those two that made for a smooth transition in that regard. And it's been gratifying through the first year to see that genuine mutual respect, admiration, and support that exists between the two. Donyell could not be here tonight, but he wanted me to read a personal letter to Coach, given that he was not able to do it himself. So if you would indulge me again for a minute. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to start by sending my apologies for not being able to attend tonight's special event for Coach D. As most of you know, my wife and youngest daughter still live in Cleveland, Ohio, while I pursue my second dream job of being head coach of the Central Connecticut State Blue Devils, which would not be possible as Coach would not have been so kind to retire after 20 great years. Coach D, you must have some big feet because I wear a size 17, and you've left some big shoes to fill. Shoes that hopefully one day will be able to fill and make this university proud the way you did. I wish I had some funny stories to tell about my time with Coach D while at UConn, but unfortunately I don't. Not because he and I didn't have a great relationship, we had an awesome one that we still have today, but more because I think Coach D knew he had to be serious with me. Anyone who knows Coach D knows he's a black and white guy, not too much in between. At UConn, Coach Calhoun had this box-out drill. At the time, I was a healthy 6'9", 185 pounds. You had to get 3 stops in a row to get out of the drill, and there were no rules. Well, I guess because I was supposedly an up-and-coming player, Coach Calhoun had a short whistle when it was my turn, meaning I had it pretty easy in the drill. Well, Coach D wasn't too happy about that, so trust me, when we separated into bigs and smalls, Coach D got his payback. He made me bust my butt like no other, something that I didn't understand as a kid but cherish now as an adult. But the funny part of that whole story is when Coach D finally got his head job, he had a kid named Kenny Horton. Coach D would call him Yell, which is my nickname given to me by Coach Calhoun. And in that same box-out drill, he would give a quick whistle to Kenny so we could get out of the drill. How funny that things come full circle. But on a serious note, Coach D, I want to say thank you for everything you've done for me since 1991. You've called me every year on my birthday. Most importantly, I thank you for being here for me while I transition into being a head coach. You watched practice from afar. When I was down, you always told me I was doing great. The biggest moment that touched me was when you told me that you were most proud of my ability to get the players to do things that you could not get them to do. That takes a real coach and a real man to do so. And that has helped me through the season. Coach D, you are always welcome at my practices. This is your home. Thank you for everything you've done, not only for me, but for everyone's lives you've touched. Again, sorry for not being here tonight. Enjoy your retirement, and I wish you the very best in all of your ventures ahead. Love you, Coach. Actually, Coach, full disclosure, he had a PS on there, and it said, "No more Santa outfits, please." So, folks, just bear with me. We're on the home stretch here, and then I'll sign off and let you continue with your dinner. But this is from a personal standpoint, from a Blue Devil Athletics standpoint. It's not an easy task to offer thanks and tokens of esteem that would equate to the tenure, the accomplishments, and the contributions of someone like Howie Dickenman as both an alumnus and a coach at CCSU. But we've tried to put together a few things that we thought might in some small way convey our gratitude to you, Coach. So first, we have initiated an endowed fund in Coach Dickenman's name to support men's basketball in perpetuity. We have the initial threshold for an endowed fund is $25,000. In somewhat of a silent phase leading up to tonight, we have, thank you, we have garnered about half of that amount. So I'm hopeful between what may take place this evening with some other generous gifts, we might be able to get close to that or reach that goal, and certainly soon thereafter reach that $25,000 threshold so it begins to spit out interest for them to support men's basketball. Second, Coach, we are establishing a Howie Dickenman Award. And it's a new award made possible through the generosity of an alumnus, Mr. Phil Kurz, who's right over here. Phil is a longtime personal supporter of CCSU as a season ticket holder, an alumnus, instrumental in our longtime sponsorship, very generous sponsorship with Wayland Engineering. And about a year ago, he came to me, to myself and Chris Galligan, and said he wanted to initiate an award in Coach's honor. So we collaborated on the criteria, and here's what we came up with, Coach. The Howie Dickenman Award will be awarded annually to a member of the men's basketball program who best exemplifies the characteristics of Howie Dickenman as a Blue Devil player, coach, and person. The recipient will be committed to success in the classroom, a devoted participant in the community service, and a selfless teammate. The recipient will represent the highest ideals of CCSU and Blue Devil men's basketball as a humble, appreciative, and thankful member of the community. So we look forward to having that first recipient next year, and hopefully Coach can be part of that. On a less serious note, we obviously know basketball has been Coach's life and his livelihood. We also know he has a real passion for baseball, and particularly the St. Louis Cardinals. So we know you make an annual journey with some of your guys to some games, Coach. So we wanted to try and offer some ancillary games to that. So we've secured 4 tickets for you and 3 of your guys to attend the Red Sox-Cardinals interleague game at Fenway Park on either August 15 or 16. And these tickets, it's important to know, are very generously provided courtesy of another CCSU alumnus, Mr. Brendan Kennedy. So we hope you enjoy a night at Fenway, Coach. And this is it. Then I've got one more thing to present to Coach. So, Coach, it's your night. It's your moment. Tonight we pay tribute to the exceptional career of one of the greatest Blue Devils of all time. In closing, I just wanted to offer some brief personal thoughts and present you with one final gift. So here goes. We thank you for the great legacy you leave here at CCSU. We thank you for your undying loyalty to Blue Devil athletics and all those who are part of the CCSU family. We thank you for taking our men's basketball program to unprecedented heights and success. We thank you for the indelible impact you have had on the sport of basketball in the state of Connecticut and for your lasting impact on the trajectory of basketball in the Northeast Conference. We thank you for all the lives you've touched through the journey of your career as a coach, a teacher, and a mentor. Perhaps most important, we thank you for the countless hours of community service you have offered to so many in need in the most selfless, unassuming, and honorable way. Coach, many here today are familiar with the motto you have asked all of your players to adhere to as members of your Blue Devil teams, and I just mentioned it as part of the award, namely to be humble, appreciative, and thankful. Tonight, Coach, I believe it is fair to say that everybody in this room, individually and collectively, is humbled, appreciative, and thankful for our association and friendship with you. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you, and I look forward to continuing that relationship as we move forward. So, as a final token of esteem, we've got I'll break it out in a minute. We've got a framed Blue Devil jersey for you with your CCSU number 44. And it has the following inscription on it. Howie Dickenman, alumnus, Hall of Famer, and 20-year head coach, with admiration and appreciation for your loyalty, passion, and commitment to CCSU, a Blue Devil forever. So please come on up, Coach, so we can present you with this number. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mayor Aaron Stewart.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Good evening. I'm Mayor Aaron Stewart, Mayor of the great city of New Britain. Coach, how you doing? It is my honor and pleasure to be here with you this evening. Like everyone in this room certainly knows that Coach is a larger than life. Absolutely. And like me, Coach has Blue Devil blood running right through his veins. Yes, go Blue Devils. He came to me this past year and asked if I was okay with a portion of tonight's proceeds going back to the city of New Britain to help support our kids. And asked me where that money should go. And I certainly wasn't going to say no, not by any means. So 100% of the proceeds he wanted to go back to the students, to the kids of the city of New Britain, a city where kids don't get the opportunities that many others do in other parts of the state. a city where our average household income is $40,000 a year under, a city where kids who want to play sports may not have the equipment, the sneakers, a basketball, to be able to get there to do it. So my answer to him was very simple. There's a charitable fund that was started by my father, former Mayor Tim Stewart, who's over there. Hi, Dad. That was back in 2007, 10 years ago. We're celebrating our 10th year this year of the Mayor's Trophy Charitable Fund. In those 10 years, we've raised just about $300,000 to go back into the city of New Britain. Every single dollar that we raise goes directly to benefit the children and youth and families of our city. There's no overhead. We run this on our own, all volunteers. So I wanted to thank Coach for the opportunity tonight, for those little donation cards that you have on your plates, and encourage all of you to make a donation, small, large, whatever, really large, whatever you want to make, in support of the Mayor's Trophy Charitable Fund. We have a big golf tournament every year where we raise about $30,000 to $40,000, and all that money goes right back into places like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, YWCA, our after-school programs. A lot of our youth organizations will pay for kids to play for AAU who wouldn't have the means to do that otherwise. So tonight's event will certainly boost our ability to do that, to continue to give back to our community, and I can't thank Coach enough for really wanting to make sure that that was a cornerstone of tonight. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you all so much, and Coach, I value this new friendship that we have, even though you're on your way out. I still value this friendship that we've had, and I can't thank you enough for that heartfelt gesture for the students in the city of New Britain. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Great message. My name is Pat Moyer. I'm the former Director of Athletics at the University of Hartford. I'm a former coach at Penn State, so I got a little basketball hoop stuff in my blood. But most of all, I'm a buddy of the gentleman we're honoring tonight. And I thank you all so much for coming out and celebrating his career and his contributions. He's an extraordinary gentleman. He has marched to his own drumbeat forever, and all of you out there know this is true. Coach D and I first met at UConn. I came up from Penn State as the SWA, and Coach D was working for Dom Perno. We kind of had our time together, so our professional careers, mine in administration, his in coaching, have marched side by side. We're neighbors in Manchester on the south side. We are approximately the same age, so we've lived life in very much the same sphere. But most of all, we're friends. And I'll just tell you a couple of stories. One is when I first got to UConn, someone told me, and I don't know who it was, it might have been, who knows. I got there in '83 and someone said, Coach D, oh, he's crazy about recruiting. In fact, he and Coach Perno were driving up 95 North, and Coach D said, stop the car, stop the car. He jumped out. This is a story before I met the man. He jumped out, grabbed his bag, and said, I got to recruit a kid tomorrow, and he jumped over the median on 95 and hitchhiked in the opposite direction. So I said, well, I don't know if that's true or not, but that certainly is an expression of the intensity of the gentleman. In September of 1995, we're all experiencing Hurricane Gloria. She is coming up to Connecticut, and she's going to rip. Category 4, she's going to rip right up the Connecticut River Valley. And I'm in my little house in Manchester, and the storm is beating away, and I get a call. Moyer, it's Coach D. Are you all right? I said, I think so. I got my flashlights, I got my candles, I'm ready to go. He goes, well, call me if you need me. I'll be there. It's the hurricane. But I can't tell you, and I don't know that I've ever shared this with him, how much that meant to me as a single mom, knowing that there was somebody out there who was thinking about me. So the real Coach D, the one that is engaged charitably, the one that is tough on kids and raises kids, is so much more. We were walkers together. I'd get a call, Miser, you got a bottle of red wine? The stores are closed. I need a bottle of red wine. Sure, come on over. And he would do that. Or let's hop in the car and go see Coach Peichel. And that's been a great story. Howard is one of the most loyal, hardworking, and it's already been said, kindest human beings in America. He's a quiet friend for so many of you. You are here tonight because you have been touched by him. I have been touched by him. And as a woman who retired 3 years ago, I am so excited for this man to have time to finally follow his heart and relax and do some things that he really wants to do. It's a tough career, and Coach Oriana and Coach Calhoun and all the other coaches in this room understand what that pace is like. 7 days a week. It is tough, it is intense, it is competitive. And so finally having a chance to step off the treadmill and enjoy life, take a deep breath, read, think, hug the people you love is so vitally important. I am thrilled that you are here tonight to share in this celebration of our friend, Howard Dickenman, and I look forward to a great night. I leave you all with this quote. I leave it for Coach. I was a commencement speaker last weekend, and I shared it, and I live by it. From Gandhi, live as if you were to die tomorrow, and learn as if you were to live forever. Coach D, we celebrate you. Love you, buddy. It is now my pleasure to ask Coach Jim Calhoun to come up and offer some remarks. Jim? I first met Jim one day when he was to be announced as the new head coach, 1986. At the University of Connecticut. I ran over to the press conference a little early to see if I could help Tim Tolican. He said, Pat, Jim and Pat are here, go for a ride. We got to get the media in, and then I need Coach Calhoun to arrive. So I had the very, very great pleasure of having probably a 20-minute private time with Jim and Pat Calhoun. And 873 career wins, 3 national championships, and a Hall of Fame coach for this state. And I will just say to you that this is my opinion. I am opinionated. The people in Connecticut love their Huskies, but you have no idea how hard it is to accomplish what Gino and Jim and many of the other coaches in this room have done. So we live in a great state with outstanding people And without any further ado, Jim Calhoun.
Thank you. Donnie, what'd you shoot? Howie just walked in here with golf clothes on. What'd you shoot? Just let us know. Huh? 74, not bad. You know, I thought Howie meant a lot to you, but, you know, it's fine. I'm not going to roast because I used that all up on about 2,000 officials over 40 years. They said I roast them. I never understood that. And by the way, Howie, I wasn't disappointed until I got up here and found that you never asked me about a red bottle of wine and coming over to my house. I don't know what it is. It's gender discrimination. By the way, you do know, Pat, take a note, it took a woman to fix the mic. Got you, kid. I just want to say that, you know, this is an amazing night for me because when I first met Howie in 1967, I was working for AIC. I finished school, was a graduate assistant, and they called it at the time. I was more of an assistant than a graduate, but we could get into that later. But most importantly, I went out to see him play. He was a sophomore, and well, he was good, and he was mean. And as I've said to people, he's a great friend, but a real tough enemy. And as they all know who's gone against him, but he was physical. He played with, just like his life, he played kind of with a tenacity that you wouldn't absolutely believe. And watching him as a player, you know, I didn't know if I ever see this guy again. I remember going back and giving the scouting reports, and, you know, he can jump. Our players didn't realize that all the time. He was tough. They realized that all the time. And he just had the tenacity that I've almost never seen in any other human being. You know, Reader's Digest all the time has the most unforgettable characters I ever met. You met one. Because you don't find that unique gift of love, of caring, of toughness, tough love, if you want to call it that, but of Howie Dickenman. You know, when I first came to UConn, and John Perno, who honestly had done a terrific job there setting it up in the early days of the Big East, and I remember going into the office with John Toner, and I go in, this one coach left, because the other coaches had left when they made a change, and there was Howie sitting there. Howie, you can help me with the numbers. I think there were 6 photos of the players that we have there. Phil Gamble, Cliff Robinson, the late Spider Ursary, Jeff King, and I still remember like it was yesterday. So I turned to John and I said, John, Howie's a terrific guy. I remember he was a player, but what's he doing here? He said, he's not going to leave until someone takes care of the kids. You never heard John say that. And I said to myself, he's a special guy. I found out how special when I kept him on our staff, and we went on our first recruiting trip, and we flew to St. Louis. It was a nice time, and I'm going to go with Howie. He's going to get it. He's going to give me a lot of advice about the Big East and things to do. And so we had about 2 hours. I said, Howie, what are you going to do? He says, I work out. I do too. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to run. Good, meet you in the lobby in 10 minutes. Great, see you there. True story. Now understand that Howie technically was out of a job. I rehired him, became my assistant, as good as you're ever going to find. And we're going to run together. That's what I thought. So I said, Howie, where should I go? Oh, you go down there. You just go there. Where you going? I'm going the other way. I said, Howie, come on, man. You know, I'm your boss, kind of like, you know. Kind of fake it maybe a little bit. I don't run with anybody. That's Howie Dickenman. You know, a man, and it's a true story, he knows it, and we never ran together, but I'm going to tell you something. We've been so fortunate at UConn to have some incredible success. The one thing I'll guarantee you, if I wasn't smart enough, lucky enough, researched enough to hire Howie Dickenman, it never would have happened the way it happened. I'm telling you right now, I know who I am, I know what we were, David, and all the people who came later, who's here tonight, and so many other people. You see the UConn family here, and I kid Donnie, but he has the same love for Howie that we all do. My family, my life, my profession in UConn, never know to this day, I bet you, I think we all know who in the circle, just how much he meant to me. He was incredible. Because, you know, as long as you told Howie what to do, he would do it for you. And there was never any doubt. You know, sometimes you tell an assistant or somebody, I want them to do this, and you're worried that they do it. Not with Howie. His input over those 8 years, I believe we were together, and the wonderful things he did at UConn were very special. You know, I feel tonight incredibly honored to be up here to toast a guy, a man, and I saw Erica, and I tried to believe, but I saw my past in many ways, the Calhoun family past, and UConn's past. Howie, I'm just here to say thank you from all your friends, and most importantly for me, love you, man. Thank you. Nice job, Jim.
We want you to enjoy your meal, and we'll be back with you in a short time, but I am going to read one letter, which I actually left on the table. You grab that for me? And as much as Howie meant a lot to Jim, I know Jim meant a lot to Howie. I know when Howie came to Central, he brought some of the techniques and things that Jim taught him, like if you lose the game, cold pizza tastes better. It's often good to practice after a loss in a road trip. Get right off the bus and practice while you have things fresh in your mind. And really the true reason why Jim hired him, because Howie was one of the few guys who could understand what Jim was saying. Now, Jim's come a long way, because I saw him do an NEC conference championship game this year, and I'll tell you what, did a great job, and I understood every single word he said. But I'd like to read this letter while you continue eating, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. It says, Dear Coach Dickenman, on behalf of the Franciscan Life Center, we send blessings and the very best of wishes to you on the evening's gala celebration your retirement. You are most deserving of this recognition for your outstanding service to youth, athletes, and the community. Over the years, you have also been a wonderful supporter of our outpatient mental health center and the Franciscan home care and hospice care. Your presence year after year at our Franciscan sport banquet and silent auction is truly a gift to us and all who attend. We are sorry we cannot be there to celebrate with you. You will be remembered in our prayers on Mass on May 20th, 2017. May the Lord bless you and keep you and grant you his peace. Signed, Sister Barbara, Sister Suzanne, and Mother Sean. Enjoy your meal. We'll be back at you in a little while. Good evening. I hope you all enjoyed your meal and your dessert. We're now ready to begin the second half of our program. Thank you. The first half of the program was basically to honor Howie Dickenman. The second half of our program is to roast Howie Dickenman. And we have up here Steve Peichel, D. Rowe, Ed Generali, Gino Oriema. I'm glad that Howie actually asked me to be the MC of this program. As most of you know, and probably everyone in this room has received a anniversary call, a birthday card, a telephone call from Howie on some of your special occasions. And he religiously does that. Now that he has time on his hands, he has gone to see many of his former coaches, assistants at their various games. He's also taken the time to send all of them letters. And I'm sure you as coaches, when you got those letters from Howie, you probably thought that they were congratulations, have a good season, wishing you the best. Instead, Howie decides to send everybody a list of all his quotes. Now, I know all of you coaches have your own quotes, so I'm sure you were a little surprised to get this list of quotes from Howie. And some of them are pretty good, and the rest of them, well, but a couple of my favorites from Howie are, it pays to be a winner. I think that's his standard one, and I think he picked that up during the setback games where he picked everybody's pocket and helped supplement his salary. And of course, he even took money from his supposedly best friend, Dave Ribzik. He took the grocery money, and I know Francine is here, and on a bus trip, Howie took Dave's grocery money, and I know it was a tough time for Dave to go home and tell Francine that Aaron and Mark are not going to be eating for a couple of days. But there's also a couple other quotes that Howie uses. Defense wins championships. And I think every coach in the room, well, not every coach in the room, Gino says, look, if we score twice as many points as our opponents, defense will take care of itself. But my favorite quote from Howie, and it's probably not on your list, when I finally talked Howie into coming to Central Connecticut to coach, and the only two people who thought he would come would be my wife, Linda, and me. Even Erica, who was a Central grad, said, you know, Dad, what are you thinking? You got to be out of your mind. But anyway, Howie made the decision that he was going to come to Central Connecticut. And we were down at, had a room down at Foxwoods, and of course then there's no cell phones and nobody knows who you are, and we meet in a room, and Howie says, I'm going to take the job. I said, great. And then in his next breath he says, CJ, I'm going to be a pain in the ass, but it won't affect our friendship. And so tonight, Howie, I'm going to be a pain in the ass, and it won't affect our friendship. Now, I first met Howie when we were freshmen playing JV basketball. That's when you couldn't play on the varsity. And we had a pretty good team until mid-semester when half of the team was academically ineligible. Now, you coaches in the room, that's a rarity. That doesn't happen anymore because, first of all, you have classes in the summer that kids take before they come to school. You got tutors, you got academic advisors. If you happen to be at North Carolina, you have courses where kids don't have to go and they get grades. But we lost half the team, and at the end of the year, there was 4 of us left who were going to play on the varsity next year. Bobby Tirigo, John Candelaria, Howie, and myself, and we decided, well, let's hook up and become roommates together. Not a bad idea. So John and Bobby Tirigo decided, okay, they'll be roommates together, and they found an apartment down on East Street, and we called it The Tracks. Howie and I hooked up, and we looked to try to see if we could, you know, get a room together and be roommates. And at that time, you know, it's the 60s, it's Black Power time, race relations in the United States, and we were going to look for a room in New Britain, which is affectionately known as Little Poland. So Howie and I went to several apartments, and the same answer came up time and time again. We'll get back to you. Finally, we found this really, really nice apartment on Glen Street, which happened to be next to the Garden House. And we spent a lot of time, both of us, at different times around the Garden House. So we find this apartment, and we really like it. And Howie sees the look on this lady's eyes, the same look as we had before. So he decides, I'm going to offer her more money than what she's actually asking for the apartment. So Howie says, we'll give you an extra $20 for the apartment. She says, I'll get back to you. She never got back to us. So at that point in time, I said, Howie, I'm going to go on my own. You go on your own. We'll get something worked out. So I found an apartment on Arch Street. And it just so happened we had a basketball tournament that weekend. And I spent the weekend cleaning up this apartment, cleaning the stove. And Linda was a friend of mine at the time. And she was going out with a friend of mine in New York. They had gone on a couple of dates. So I cleaned this apartment up. I said, we had a nice tournament win. We won the tournament. So I have a party over this new apartment that I'm in. Great time, great party. Next day, we're moving in, and this lady says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And I said, well, you know, what are you talking about? She says, I call the landlord, and I really wouldn't do that if I was you. Half an hour later, it was the landlord. How fast can you move out of this apartment? So I fortunately found another place on High Street over Growler Pizza and end up living there. Howie, on the other hand, he was on his own, and he found a place on Pleasant Street right across from Pleasant Corners. And, you know, that was where he lived. And in hindsight, I am really, really glad that I was never Howie's roommate. Because Howie had a roommate, and he only allowed him to live in the kitchen. He had to eat, sleep, and live in the kitchen. And at the time when we played games and came home, you know, we might have a little bag lunch, and Howie would save the fruit. You know, we'd have a sandwich, a piece of fruit, and a cookie. And Howie would save the fruit for his roommate. And when he'd get home and give the fruit to his roommate's name was Al. And Al was a monkey. And Al actually learned sign language because Howie actually taught Al sign language. And so when he played cards over his nights, he'd have people play in the kitchen. And if it was diamonds, Al would cover his eye. If it was hearts, Al would cover his mouth. If it was grapes, or clubs as we call them, Al would cover his ears. And if it was spades, Al would just do nothing. So Howie would clean house. And you know that old adage of hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil? Al was giving a lot of sign language to Howie at that time. But we've remained friends, and I certainly have a lot more to add. But at this time, we'd like to call up Ed Generali. And Ed, I got nothing for you. Good.
That's good, CJ. I'm glad. I don't know how this is going to work because I'm Italian. I don't know if I could talk and hold the microphone, but I'll give it a shot. It's a great honor to be up here, and Trita asked me to say a few words about Howard because he's touched so many people's lives in his long and stellar career. And I met Howard probably less time than most of you people because it was 24, 25 years ago. I was coaching at Holy Cross High School, which I did until this past season. And Howard was recruiting for UConn. And I had a player that Howard recruited who actually went to UConn. And Howard still talks to me. I'm not going to mention the player's name, but Coach Calhoun knows. And so that was a good thing. And through the years, I've judged our relationship based on our phone conversations. And anybody who's talked to Howard on the phone knows what I mean. While he was recruiting the player, it was, he would call me, how's so-and-so doing? Oh, he's doing good, Coach. Hey, how are you? Yeah, okay, I got to go now. Click. So you could almost hear the timer in the background. He had 150 calls to make in about a minute and a half. So we'd get like 10 seconds. And then as our relationship moved forward, I think I reached about 45 seconds with Howard on the phone, which is a long time. And I knew we were becoming friends when I asked him, so how are you, Coach? And he'd say, yeah, I'm good. Okay, I got to go now. Click. But our friendship really was cemented when Howard found out that I could do some home improvement projects. So I was no longer a basketball coach. He didn't care anything about my players. I didn't have any good players, good enough to play for him at Central. But, I could paint. I knew how to use a hammer. And Howard had a condo that, he needed to be taken care of. Right, Donnie? So, the phone calls then were, hey, Fast Eddie, can you fix my dishwasher? It's not draining, Or Fast, can you put a floor in my kitchen? I want to sell the condo. So I go up to Manchester from Waterbury, and Donnie was renting the place at the time, and there was water in the bottom or whatever. And Donnie says, so what are you, a dishwasher repairman? I said, no, actually I'm a high school basketball coach, but Howard needs a friend that knows how to do this stuff. The best one was when Howard called me and said, hey, Fast, my lights don't work. I think they need new light bulbs. Can you come up here and help me out? Sure, okay. So he was not interested in learning how to change the light bulbs, but I took care of the light bulbs for him. The ultimate bonding experience Howard and I had was when he bought a townhouse, beautiful condo townhouse in Farmington, which I think he's still living, because after I finished work for him, he never invited me back there. But he bought it from an older woman who loved pink. The whole condo was pink. Could you picture that? Howard in pink. Toilet seat cushioned pink. The wallpaper, pink stripes, the flower. So I spent a few months up there renovating Howard's townhouse, beautiful townhouse. He would, have practice. He'd be at school. He'd be at practice. 8:30, 9 o'clock, he'd come home, and I'd still be there, painting and so on. And then I would wait for his critique, Well, I don't know. Are the stripes over there straight enough, on the wallpaper? Okay, I'll take it down tomorrow and I'll rehang the wallpaper, Howard. But then we'd drink like 2 bottles of wine, and everything looked much better. The clincher came when I brought Howard to Lowe's. Now, everybody knows what Lowe's is. He thought it was still a movie place, Lowe's Poli. I said, no, it's a home center, A home center? Would I have to buy a house there? No. We're going to go. We needed a light for the kitchen, so I brought Howard there. And, they have a whole assortment of lights. And we couldn't agree on a light, so we're in the aisle arguing about which light to hang in his kitchen. And these 2 older ladies come down the aisle, and they said, oh, can we help you boys out? And so we said, yeah, we're trying to decide which one to hang in our kitchen. And they settled the discussion. We brought the light home and hung it for Howard. And I said, yeah, I think this relationship is going in the wrong direction. So that brings me to I brought a few gifts for Howard now that he's retired. You can bear with me. First of all, Howard, this is a light bulb. And this is kind of a practice set. How to screw a light bulb in. Okay? It's kind of a practice set there for you. And no homeowner is any good without a subscription to Family Handyman. You've got some extra time, I think you should start reading it, okay? You could build that man shed out in the back of your condo. And then, Howard's Toolbox. No home is complete without it. The goggles, safety goggles. You know, there's some, I got a rubber mallet because I don't trust them with a real hammer yet. So, you can't really hurt yourself with a rubber mallet. Flashlight, it's got everything in there that you need, Howard. All right, don't call me again. And you know, we're going to see if we could teach an old dog new tricks. That would be you, Howard. And I just have to throw a serious note because Howard is a great friend, as everybody said. His caring and sincerity. You know, once you get past that crustiness and that, you know, carry those bricks around the gym for 2 hours, you know, or you're not going to play ever again for me. You know, once you get past all that stuff, you know, he never forgets you and never forgets. I mean, this guy has never forgotten the significant life events, you know, that you have if you're his friend. And he really deserves all the best. His new career as the world's tallest Santa Claus will move him forward, I'm sure. But as everybody here, you know, I love you, Howard, and I really have to shout out to Trita, who has put her heart and soul into this whole event. Great, great woman. I love you, Howard.
Don't worry, Howie will get his licks in later. And don't forget the light bar. Our next roaster is a class act. Everybody knows D. Rowe. He's back in the era of Dietrich and that crew. They don't make them like that anymore. And D has always been very gracious and nice to me and my wife, and every time I see him, when I wrote a book on the Final Four, and I went up to see D, and he gave me some really good stories that was in the book, as well as Jim Calhoun. The only mistake I made with Jim is I should have put him on the cover. I would have probably sold more copies. So I hope that Howie puts you on speed dial, because he's kind of in a role that you're in now, and he could use all the help he can get. Thank you.
This is spectacular. I am perfect to follow this guy that preceded me. My bride sits down here. She's been married to me for 63 years. I don't want her to get big-headed to get that kind of an announcement, but she would tell you that I wouldn't even know where the hell to find a hammer. Or anything else. Whatever gets done in our house, my dear friend who only has 7 children and 17 grandchildren and 33 in our immediate family, she can do it all, or we hire out. And they didn't pay me enough when I was coaching. I came to UConn for $16,600. That's a lot of money. I was going to be the head coach. I made that same amount of money at my school before I came here, Worcester Academy. $16,600. I had a camp. I took 8,000 kids for nothing because I wanted them to send their kids to come and play for me. Togo Palazzi had 5 kids. They all were free at my camp for a long, long time. Unfortunately, Togo went the other way, sent all those kids to some other school. So I hold him in very disrespect right now, but if you see him, the truth of the matter is I love him dearly. Hey, This is a great, great turnout tonight. A tremendous showing to me as far as I'm concerned. I look around, and I had some things I wanted to say, but it's all about honoring this guy. I couldn't roast him for 1 minute. I'll try in my remarks, but I couldn't, because what he has done is such an honor and a trust and a faith and respect and admiration, and he works his rear end off. He's only been 45 years in this business. I quit. We had pickets, strikes, boycotts, bomb scares, building takeovers, signs up to get rid of the coach, all those wonderful things. And I thought that after, this was in the 60s, going into the 70s, and in the 70s more often than not. They had a bomb scare. We had everybody in the place taken out. We're playing Holy Cross. They evacuated the building. The only trouble is they didn't evacuate me. And my team went on the floor, and George Blaney beat us. I still hate George for that. I love him for other things. But I have to hate him for that game. But I was just waiting that we could get out of the building before we got blown up. Another time I had police protection because one of my players who I kicked off the team threatened me. This was a big, tough kid, and he was a good player, but he had a bad helmet. So I dumped him. And he threatened me. So I had to have police protection that day. Not that day, the rest of the season. Anyway, I have to tell you this. I've got some notes. I want to do a good job, but the next time you run this operation, get this a little higher. I'm only going to be 89 next January. What the hell am I going to do? I'll be down here like this, and I'll be up here. You know what? They told me this. I got orders from this guy. He said, be sure you speak loud enough. I said, how the hell am I going to say anything down here? I can't do that. So either you got to come up here and hold the notes and give me a little bit better introduction. Get on. Anyway, it's hit me more than anything else that there's a love in this room, incredible love in this room, a passion. People care about one another. We live in a crazy time. The world is insane. And we're all in here together. Different families, different backgrounds, different everything. But we're together because of a ball. And about people caring for one another, helping one another to have a good start on life through our game, and then going forward and helping them in career opportunities. That's our mission. That's the greatest mission you could possibly have. And as the rest of the world, it goes on, and my bride and I, we only got the 7 kids, you know, and I'm only an Episcopalian. I don't know what the hell happened. You know. Excuse me, doll. My wife just shook her head. That means I better sit down and hold it. So I want to congratulate all of the people here that are speaking tonight, and in particular congratulations to Howie. You know, I've never heard a word by anybody, and this is supposed to be a roast, but I've never heard a word from anybody except to praise Howie Dickenman, his efforts, his work, his behavior, and what he's done for the game of basketball, but beyond the game of basketball, what he's done to help other people build their own lives. Thank you, Howie, for everything you've meant to all of us. I'm honored to pay this tribute tonight and to share this with Gino and Stevie and Jim and the others in a special tribute to a guy that is only given 45 years. I first met him, I knew of his dad. Howie's playing for Cheshire Academy. I was at Worcester, and we thought we had to win every game. And Howie comes up, Howie, did you like the court? Nice track up around it. A bitch to make a shot from the corner. You couldn't do it. No way in the world. So we tried to push you in the corner. I don't know if you knew that. I wasn't very bright going to school, but I did know if that track overhead, and any of you that are old enough, in the old days, Pat, don't shake your head. You're young enough. You don't know. The thing is going over your head, and that's where they put guys to run track. And you put chairs there, and they watch the game. But they can't see underneath. So I thought a 1-3-1 ought to be about the best zone defense you could work at that time, because the track had covered both sides of the baseline, which wasn't bad. Anyway, we first met some time ago. I saw Howie play at Central. I knew of his dad, great reputation. I saw Howie begin his coaching, and at Hartford, and then at Central, then at Canisius with Nick, and then at UConn for 4 years with Dom, and then 10 years with Jim in the great, great years, and then 20 years here. What an incredible contribution to young lives, to helping young people build their lives, and to see all of you people here today that have a love for this guy means more to me than anything you could possibly do. It tells everything that he has meant to all of you and to our game of basketball and reaching out for others. It's supposed to be a roast. He was a sick man. Anybody that coached 45 years needs help. There's no question about that. And he played the game since he was born. He had an early start. He was paralyzed, however, through it all by the administration.
The one when I was there.
I couldn't let that go by. The ADs of that day were watching Howie closely. The referees were tough on him. The coaches were tough on him. The players were tough on him. The writers were tough on him. Teachers were not helpful to the kids. And the fans were not good at all when they lost. And Howie didn't like the fans at all. However, he was a prisoner. He couldn't escape. The poor devil couldn't escape. He was a prisoner. The game. He got it from home. He got it from the day he started. The prisoner, and he couldn't escape. He was captured, he was toasted, he was roasted, and he was boasted by somebody, I'm not sure who. But he had a struggle with all the other things that one had to put up with in that day. He was infected, affected, and rejected by some. He spent his entire life, if you could, he spent his entire life in a jockstrap. I got out of mine 20 years ago. There's something you gotta do, Howie. You gotta do it. No question. Get rid of it, get another one. When I was playing, you could get a clean one about every 4 days. I just thought of that. He spent his whole life in one of those things in locker room and gyms and arenas and buses and courtesy cars and his own car and going all over the world in planes and so forth. But if I could, the man we honor tonight is a sick lifer, two-fisted with a fire in his belly and a real treasure. He was born to coach, a motivator, totally dedicated, cared so much about his players and about the game and the university, totally committed. And his life was really about building lives. And there's so many coaches and athletic administrators here, and I'm honored to see you all, to be here to pay tribute to this wonderful man. But all of you would say in building lives, you're a teacher, you're a coach, you're a mentor, and you're always reaching out for others, and there's no let up. And this crowd tonight is so superb. It's about people that care about the same things that this guy has cared about and dedicated his life to. And so many of you out here have done the same. And I'm thrilled to see you all here. He's reaching out for others. There was never any let up. He was totally committed. He made a difference for everybody whose life he touched. It was privileged to touch his life, a privilege, and always there for others. He spent his life building lives, and that's why who is here, all of you who are here tonight, means so much and will mean something forever in his life. Howie, you're all about loyalty, you're all about dedication, you're all about commitment. You were never captured by your own importance. There are a lot of people that get captured by what they've done or their own importance. Howie Dickenman never sought out the glamour. He never sought out the bright lights. He never sought out any of that. And that's what made him such a special person. You made the world better, Howie, for everybody that was privileged to touch your life. You spent your life really selling futures, and you're a huge contributor to building so many lives out here and so many others in your life's work. I urge everyone to reach out and touch someone's hand every day and make the world a better place if you can. Howie Dickenman made our world a better place. Congratulations, Howie. I love you so much.
Thank you, Dee. The next player, or next speaker, Steve Peichel, I actually was recruiting Steve when he was at St. Paul's. I found out today in the paper that I went after the wrong parent. His father was working at Central at the time, and I figured we had a halfway decent shot at getting Steve, even though we were Division II at the time, and certainly when Division I's came in, we lost all those players. But after reading the article today, apparently Howie knew the mother, made the contact with the mother, and we never really did have a chance at getting Steve. But Steve, when he came to Central, he became a Howie clone. And I would walk by the office and I couldn't tell who it was. You know, there might be a cup of coffee, a black cup of coffee on the counter, and you'd hear some mumbling on the phone or some rattling and this, that, and the other thing. And I would look in the office, and sometimes it was Steve, sometimes it was Howie. And after so many years, I just, kind of gave up and said, they're just really one person. And he even started the same kind of voice. But I know when Steve was at Stony Brook, I think everyone in this room who knows Steve and loves Steve lived and died with Steve during some of those tournament games against Stony Brook. I think we would see people in the stands, we'd see Howie, we'd see Pat, we'd see everybody agonizing. I'd be at home on the TV with my wife agonizing that, Steve, he's so close, and he'd find every kind of conceivable way not to win the game. But finally, he got it done, and certainly the rest is history. And so the other Howie clone is Anthony Latina. I saw him at a couple of games and events, and he has that same, get the coffee and the walk and the talk, and he keeps going in 100 miles an hour. But Steve was really the very first Howie clone. Steve Peichel.
Wow. Been called a lot of things. Howie clone. I would love to be a Howie clone for sure. I'm so excited to be here. It was funny. I was leaving today and my kids were with me. And so I said to my daughter Brooke, I said, going to Coach D's night, and they're honoring him for his great career and what a special person he is. And she said to me, why do they want to hear from you? So I thought to myself, I said, let me think about this here. I said, between Gino and Coach Calhoun, the three of us combined for 14 national championships. And then I thought, like I said, this is the Mount Rushmore right now of Connecticut sports. I said, you got Coach Calhoun in a room, you got D. Rowe in a room, Coach Auriemma in a room, and Howie Dickenman, Steve Peichel. Dead last, Big Ten. 14th place, 14 teams. So that's where I am today. I'm honored to be here. I spoke to a zillion former players, the ones that aren't in counseling. I was the early years of Coach Dickenman and year one at Central Connecticut. Wow, that's all I could say is wow. He's Santa Claus now. The players weren't calling him Santa Claus. Caged animal. Crazy. I had one player, Tomas Brookins, came in my office and we sat down, and Coach had, it was a long practice that day, and Tomas had a tough practice. Coach D, he rode him like a donkey, I would say, for about 2 hours. And so Tomas comes into my room afterwards. I had a great office too, by the way, CJ. Appreciate that. Downstairs. Now that we're talking about the state of Connecticut, here was a janitor's closet. They took the sink out. We worked first class, nothing but the best. Transitioning into Division I. And so I was waiting out, so Tomas comes in, and so I said, hey, Tomas, it's Coach D's way of showing you he loves you. And Tomas, I never had a coach, talk to me like that. I said, hey, just think about if he doesn't say a word to you. What does he feel about those guys on the team? So Tomas really went through it. Then the next kid came in afterwards. But I was year one. I think Steve Hain is here right now. I think usually by Thursdays we would get fired. Thursday at about 3 o'clock, we were getting a whole new staff. But we fought through it. And the greatest part of my first year with Coach D didn't sleep a lot, as you guys know. I think he was at 14 cups of coffee a day at that time of his life, black. And when I started to work for him, I would put cream in my coffee, and as I would pour the cream, he goes, soft. So the next time I go, he orders a cup of coffee, I'd get mine, soft. So pretty much after that, I didn't use the cream anymore. I got his hint, but he would like to call me, and he had the phone. He's not so technologically savvy, and so his phone would go off all the time. So it would be like 4:35, and I'm a young coach with him, and I'm trying to have his kind of energy. And the phone would ring. I'd jump out of bed, I'd grab the phone, and he'd say, "Are you sleeping?" Coach, it's 4:30. Most people sleeping right now, but I'd say nope, and he'd start with his list of recruits. We got to call this guy, we got to call this guy. So the lessons that I've learned from him, I can't explain to you that I've carried through in my 23 years of coaching. This is one story, I want to share with you. He's an unbelievable diplomat. His diplomacy is unbelievable. We had a player on the team who was transferring in. And so Coach got me in a room, and he's like, Pikes, we have to do a great job with the admissions person. They're going to call this young man. They're going to call him at 3 o'clock, and you're going to do it off the chart. He's going to kill this with the admissions person. And so I called the young man, and he's one of Coach D's all-time favorites. He's here today, John Tice. He's one of the all-time great players. Hey, John, by the way, I would take you at Rutgers right now today. And one of the all-time great players. So I'm on the phone with John, and I'm banging away. John, you tell that, admissions director, you're going to study from morning, noon, and night. You're going to be in the library. I don't know where the library is located on campus, but as soon as you get there, we're going to figure this thing out. And John, you tell whatever you need to tell, So Coach D, Pikes, we all set. John, we're all set. So Coach, 2 days, back and forth, role playing, the whole thing. Gets the phone call from admissions. Awful job. John did an awful job. So Coach D calls me up the stairs, like, what happened? I said, Coach, he was ready. I don't know. Now I'm feeling bad. He goes, let me call back the admissions director. Got a few thoughts. He goes, I graduated from Central. It's not exactly Harvard. John got admitted the next day. We won a lot of games with John, and that was diplomacy. I wrote that down. I said, let me check that one off. Dealing with admissions directors, do a great job. The other funny thing is Coach D has 100 ways to hang up the phone, okay? Because his life was structured on the phone. So he would teach me the different ways you hang up the phone. So you say, I got a meeting in 10 minutes. So whenever you got done with your meeting in 10 minutes, I got my car, my daughter is in the car, boom, hang up the phone. So he would talk to you for as long as he had 100 ways to hang up the phone. What he didn't realize was when I left Central, he would use all those methods on me when I called. So I said, Coach D just taught me that trick, and now he's using it. But I have a few things written down because there's so many great stories that I could tell. But I want to go 10 lessons, things I've learned from Coach D. And, this first one, he's unbelievable. It builds self-esteem. I'm going to just title it. My first year at Stony Brook, the Central Connecticut team came over. We're at a scrimmage game. So I'm sitting in the bleachers. So the Central players are coming out of the locker room, heading to the court. So the first guy walks out, stinks. Next guy, lousy. Next guy, worst player in the history of Central Connecticut basketball right there. Next guy, shoots like Stevie Wonder. He preceded every guy that walked out of the gym, and I said, Coach, the season hasn't even started yet. He goes, yeah, I like to start off slow with their confidence. So building self-esteem, I could check that one off the list. The next one, where's my favorite assistant coach, Anthony Latina. Anthony's in the room. He's a legend here, one of the all-time great coaches, Sacred Heart too. Anthony would get very excited, a lot of Italian in him, and no matter what, Coach D used to hit him all the time with, calm down, get a hold of yourself. That would be at halftime. Anthony also liked to call timeouts at times, right, Coach D? Every now and then, random timeout. So we're playing UMBC, and we have a player named Dean Walker, and Dean Walker is going in for a layup, okay? And Anthony decides on the bench that he thinks it's a good time for a timeout. So Dean Walker's dribbling and nobody in front of him, and next thing you know, the referee, timeout, the Blue Devils. So Coach D turns around. Who called the timeout? Who called the timeout? And so you could see Anthony right away. He just turns and says, he's walking home. He's walking home. And we don't get the 2 points, and Anthony, I think he walked home. But Anthony, during one practice, Anthony tended to cackle a lot in practice. So he was a talker. Coach D, all business, caged animal, towel over his stretches beforehand. Players used to judge the practice. They'd watch him stretch, and they'd go, oh boy, we're in for it today. The harder he stretched, they knew they were in trouble. So Anthony in practice is cackling, and you could see Coach D, like you get involved when you're in practice, and Anthony, who knows what he's talking about, pasta or whatever he's going to have that night. So Anthony's talking, so the end of practice comes and you do up and backs. You get the whole team on the line and you do some up and backs. So it's a 2-hour practice. Our guys have been running, and so he's, Latina, get on the line with the players. So Anthony comes. Now, he's not the fastest guy in the world to begin with. No one mistaken for Carl Lewis, okay? So he now is an assistant coach. He's not ready for any of this. He gets on the baseline. So he starts running sprints with Rick Mickens, who's here, another great Central player, fast as could be. And Anthony runs, and it's like a wind tunnel. His arms are pumping, the legs are going no place. Coach D is enjoying every minute of it, and as soon as he finishes, he's in dead last place. So Coach D, you didn't hit the line. Puts him back up to the line. So Anthony now, he's huffing and puffing. I mean, he's struggling right now. So he's back at the line. He doesn't know why he's doing this, but he's new assistant coach, and when Coach D tells you to do something, you do something. Gets back on the line. Now, he's trying to crank it up now. He's getting slower by the minute. So he goes another up and back, and then, as soon as he hits the baseline, Coach D goes, last guy goes again. So now, Anthony's huffing and puffing. I'm getting the trainer over already because we could have some serious issues. And so Anthony back on the line again, or tunnel, and finishes up the thing. And then Coach D says to him, as only he could do, lousy conditioning. And it was one of the great stories. So there's another, conditioning for coaching staff. It's another lesson. I got a great one. Where's Erica? Where's his daughter? She, the best. I mean, we loved when she called the office or she came by, because that was the end of that meeting. So if Erica was there, she was the best. But Coach D gave me advice once I had my daughter Brooke. He said, this is a little boyfriend advice. So Erica, he would rate the boyfriends. So Tom Konchowski has a scale, 5 being the best of the big-time players. 1 is a low Division I, 3 is a mid-Division I. So Coach, I would say to him, Coach, how about Erica's boyfriend? What do you think about him? He's okay, 3+. He's in that range, nothing special. I'm feeling him out a little bit, And the next one would come in, not bad, I don't know, potential. I kind of like the family, he's getting a little too comfortable, So I said, Coach, when he gets a little bit too comfortable, he goes, yeah, over the house the other day, put the legs up on the sofa. I'm a little getting a little too comfortable. So I said, what you do? So he goes, I called him by his wrong name. So he goes to me, you got to shake him up a little bit. He got a little too comfortable. As soon as he left the room, the new boyfriend saying, who the heck is Jimmy? You got another boyfriend? So you got to shake him up. So I said, there you go, some boyfriend advice. I like that. And then my wife and I, we go to get married, and we get a little marriage advice too from Coach D. And this is great marriage advice. He calls me in the office. He says, Pikes, I love Kate. She's a good girl and everything. He goes, but listen, now listen to me here. Get a shoe box, and stuff it under your bed. The money you put in there, no one needs to know about. So I said, some great advice. I started stuffing the money in that box, and wouldn't you know it, Coach? She found that box, and she spent that money at Nordstrom's like nobody else's business. She asked me 2 years later, what the heck is this box doing underneath the thing after she used it for so much time? Unbelievable. So marriage advice I got from Coach D, awesome. And then motivation at halftime, okay? So I was in the locker room his first 5 years at Central Connecticut, and we had some unbelievable halftime talks. And this was one of the all-time greats. Now, Corsley Edwards was an NBA draft pick and an unbelievable player. At Rutgers, he'd be my best player right now. Coach D wanted to trade him every 5 or 6 days. One time he called Steve Hain here from Fredonia State, and we were in a meeting. He was tired of Corsley's act. So he's lousy, he's this, he's that. So he calls up Steve Hain, and he says, Steve, I don't know if you're going to want this player. He's lousy, he's lazy, he's underachiever, he, doesn't work hard, he doesn't do any of this. So Steve said, what player? And he said, Corsley Edwards. Steve said, I'll take him. So halftime, Corsley wasn't playing well. And so we come into locker room, and Coach D, usually like Tasmanian devil in the locker room, but he was really calm this time. And I was like, wow, like Coach is really showing some good restraint here. Board, and everyone thought he was going to throw things around the room and what have you. He walks up to the board, the blackboard, and he writes in this little print. Now, Corsley's nickname on campus was the Big Dog. The Big Dog. So everyone called him the Big Dog, the Big Dog. So Coach comes in and he walks over to the board and he's writing this little print, and he writes, little puppy. Corsley jumps out of the seat. They go face to face for 5 minutes. Corsley goes upstairs, grabs 18 rebounds, scores 18 points, and we win the game. So great halftime speech, a little artistry out of Coach D, unbelievable. The other thing I learned, so halftime speech is awesome. Check that off. Locker rooms. Anthony used to have his mom, make him pasta every day. So you'd go downstairs in the locker room. His office was right next to our locker room. So she'd make the best pasta and what have you. Coach D used to come down. Did she make me any? Anthony, lousy. How about me? So Anthony go, I always offer her. Coach D, she'll send some for Coach D, the whole thing. So one day, Coach D's not in a great mood. So he comes downstairs and it smells like an Italian restaurant. And so Coach D gets mad and he says, locker rooms don't smell like delis, they smell like locker rooms. He was mad about the smell of the locker room. So check that off, locker room smell. Anthony kept bringing pasta afterwards, and this is one that I love. This was a banquet, how to wrap up a banquet. They had a tough year one year, Central, and so they have the banquet. And he wasn't big on banquets when you had a bad year. So you celebrate when you have something to celebrate. And so this particular award at the end of the night was an award that he built up. So he had a plaque made. And so at the end of the night, he said, this last award is a special award. This is only given to special people. This kid dove for every loose ball. This kid took charges like you wouldn't believe. This kid was a model in the classroom. This kid was a model outside the classroom. This kid is the most coachable kid in the history of the program. And, this award goes to N-O-Q. So everyone. No one qualifies. He had it on a plaque. It was on a plaque. He still has the plaque. No one qualifies. And then he goes, have a good spring. And so it's about how you wrap up a banquet, for sure. I can tell you, he recruited me. I got a chance to learn how to coach from the best of the best. I love how he was with his daughter. I had that example every time, and to this day, when my daughter comes by campus, I stop everything. My assistants can go wherever they want to go. I make sure that, I take care of my kids. I learned that from Coach D. I make sure my friends and those people that have been loyal to me, and I've learned that from Coach D, tried to be humble like him, try to be a great coach like him, try to be a father like him. So he's meant the world to me and my family. And, I couldn't be more proud today, to stand here in front of you. He had an unbelievable career. He's gone to 3 NCAA tournaments, won a zillion games. They should name the court after him, too, sometime, and I'll be on that charge to do that. And Paul knows that. Where's Paul? And they should name that court after him in the gym that he loved with Bill Dietrich's name on it. He's true blue Connecticut. It's NFA. It's, all the places that he's been, Canisius, and the people that he's met and the lives that he's touched. I know all the players that are back here today. He's Central Connecticut basketball. He's UConn basketball. He's Canisius basketball. He's all those things. I've been just so proud to have a mentor and a father, and I just love the guy. And you know, I couldn't roast Santa tonight because Santa's a special guy, but it was nice to roast Coach D. And I want to thank you for your time. Love him.
Thank you, Steve. Our next speaker, Gino, and you know, Gino obviously is a great coach. He's got restaurants, he's got wine, you know, he's got it all. But there's one thing that apparently Gino doesn't do well, and that's educate Howie on certain things. You know, Howie we went to a dinner once. And I know Gino goes to dinner with Howie quite frequently, his wife, and they probably have wine and, you know, have a good talk and, you know, have a good time. And we were at a dinner one time, and just like tonight, you know, you have white wine and red wine on the table. And, you know, most of the people who are drinking beef might have red wine, and those who have chicken or fish would be drinking white wine. So we're at, I think it was a Gold Key dinner, and Howie was drinking red wine because he had, you know, red meat. And as the night went on and the red wine is gone, there's still some white wine on the table. So Howie grabs the white wine, pours it in the glass that he was drinking the red wine with, and continues to drink the glass. And I'm saying, Gino, have you taught him nothing? But I know you don't have a lot of time because you're a busy guy. And I would be more than happy to take Howie to your restaurant and go through a 4-course meal with him. All you have to do is, you know, give your maitre d' or waiter the go-to and say that we can do it, and I can, you know, do a little appetizer, you know, a little first-course meal, a little second-course meal, dessert wine. So in all the good things you do, I'm a little disappointed that you haven't taught him at least the basics of wine 101. Gino Auriemma.
Thank you, CJ. I was telling Eddie that I was hoping Steve would go last because I think unless you work with Howard, you really don't. By the way, D, this is the perfect height. I don't know what the hell your problem is. And by the way, I'm glad that Steve came over and resurrected Howie because after D got done, I thought, God, when did Howie pass away? He was a great guy. God almighty, D. Yeah, I was hoping Steve would go last because, you know, there's some things, I said to somebody earlier, there's some things that you would not be able to transfer over to a crowd like this about some of the things that make Howard who he is. Right, Pete? And all the guys are sitting over here, Leo and all the guys over there, Harvey, and you know, all the guys that are sitting here, and Kenny probably says it best, you know, he's the kind of guy that unless you're around him on a regular basis, you really don't get the full experience of what he is and what he means and what he actually represents. And not just, you know, everybody's been up here having a great time with him, and he's going to come up and have a great time with everybody else, and as it should be on a night like tonight, as it should be. For me, looking around the room and looking at some of the people in the room, and everybody that I see in this room brings me another Howie story. So when people say, what's your favorite Howard story? Well, it depends who I'm talking to at that time. Everybody that I've ever met that's worth a shit in Connecticut, I met through Howard. And I tell people all the time, if you didn't go to Central, then you really don't matter in the state of Connecticut. And if Howie doesn't know you, then you really are a nobody in the state of Connecticut. And I didn't, obviously I came to understand that as time went on, but my first couple years at Connecticut, it was more of a, you know, he kind of took me under his wing. I was a young coach just getting started at UConn, and, you know, he had been a lot of different places and done a lot of different things. And it's funny, today, we're sitting at home before we came over, and Kathy and I were watching on TV, The Bronx Tale came on. And it was pretty funny, you know, because you're sitting there watching it, and, you know, the little kid, Cologio's sitting there, and Chaz Palminteri standing there, and I'm trying to, you know, Kathy and I were talking about his story, you know, about this is, Chaz wrote this, it's really about his life and all that. And I thought, as I was coming over here, I thought, this is the reverse of The Bronx Tale. Like, I wanted to be like a really, really stand-up guy, great coach, do everything by the book, work hard every single day. And through all the people that Howie introduced me to, he's trying to make me a gangster every day. Or at least somebody who liked to live on the edge a little bit. And the part, for me, the most fun that I ever had with Howard had nothing to do with basketball. So I can't speak to the things that Steve spoke to, because I never had that opportunity to work with him or to be that close to him. So my only recollections of Howie were off the court things that most people don't get a chance to see unless you're part of his circle. And that's everybody in this room. Everybody in this room knows more about Howard off the court than they know about Howie on the court. You were never in the locker room with him unless you happen to be these guys right here. So you were never in a timeout with him. You were never in a recruiting trip with him, you know, like Steve was. We all got to experience the Howard effect off the court. But I got to tell you, one of my first experiences was when Scotty was playing at UConn. And, you know, Burrell was one of Howie's favorite players. You know, Howie loved Scotty, and he was a Connecticut kid. And, you know, Scotty has a way of just charming everybody, and everybody loves him, and they still do. And obviously he's done a phenomenal job. But Scotty used to do a pretty good job of playing hurt. By meaning was, he was always in some kind of pain, right, Donnie? And that prevented him sometimes from going through an entire practice. It never caused him to miss any games, but it caused him to not always be able to go through an entire practice. So he would wander over into our offices sometimes, you know, and he'd walk in, and I go, "What the hell are you doing here?" The guys are practicing. I'm doing rehab. Like, what's your rehab? I'm walking around Gamble, you know, I'm just trying to get my hamstring. I got a tight hamstring, you know, I'm getting loose, you know, and then you get like 25 the next game, you know. So this happened about 3 or 4 or 5 times in the course of like 3 weeks, and I'm like, man, what a life he's got. All of a sudden, one time, the phone rings, and I pick up the phone. "Hey," I go, "What?" "Tell Burrell to get his ass out here." How we knew exactly where Scotty was the entire time he's floating around Gamble. And it's another reminder that very little gets by him that he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of a lot of things going on. And for a young guy, for somebody coming in that wants to kind of find out a little bit about what's going on, it was a great opportunity for me to learn from him. Some of the things, I got to tell you, I'm not sure that I would be as, from a coaching standpoint, as Steve said, there are a lot of things you can learn from Howie that maybe in today's day and age don't go over very well. Like, you may not be able to do some of the things that he does, but I guarantee every one of these guys, you know, that played for him would tell you if they had to do it all over again, they would do it exactly the same way at some point. I mean, so those things that he did that maybe not go over so great, believe me, they were the right things to do at the right time at the right place. But the things that I learned that made me a better person and made me appreciate how he dealt with people. And I got to tell you, one of the, and I don't know who was there when it happened. I think Jack might have been there. But we went to Mohegan one time, And we happened to be there for something. I'm not sure what it was. But somehow, I think Danny was there. We ended up at the blackjack table. And we were playing. And we were just having fun. And we're playing and playing and playing and playing. And next thing you know, he says to me, you got to lend me $100. I said, I don't have $100. He said, but I need $100. I said, I don't have $100. And he says, what do you have? I said, I don't have anything right now. And I was lying. So we're playing this crazy game. I don't know. He's got 2 queens, and like all he has to do is beat the dealer. I don't know what the hell it's called, but it's pretty hard to lose with 2 queens. So he's sitting there with 2 queens, but he doesn't have enough money to keep betting up. So he looks at me and he goes, what do you have? I said, I don't have anything. He goes, well, what about your watch? I go, what about my watch? So he looks at the dealer and he looks at me. So I take my watch off and I throw it into the pile, and he goes, that's good, right? And she goes, no. And he goes, what about your, so I take my tie off. I take anything that's worth anything, and I throw it into the pot. She's not going to take it, and he has 2 queens. And he's adamant about playing this hand. And I'm not going to give him any money. What does he do? There's a guy walking behind us. He turns around and he goes, hey! And the kid just stops in his tracks. He goes, I need $100. And the guy's like, who the hell are you? He goes, I'm Howie Dickenman. I'm the coach at Central. He goes, I need $100. I'll write you my address, my phone number, where you can go. I need $100 right now. And the son of a bitch, the kid gives him $100. So the kid gives him $100. He puts the $100 down. He's got 2 queens, and now he's all in. My watch is in there. My tie is in there. Everything is in there. And he's sitting there, and the guy turns up his card, and the guy's got 2 kings. And he goes, let's go eat. So he proceeds to get up, and we walk in, and they got like this free buffet. He ate every piece of shrimp in the entire thing. And those of you that know him, you know he can do that, right? I could go on and on and on, but that's not the point. That's not the point of all this. Because what we're trying to do tonight, I think, is talk about the things that Howie has done that has made everybody want to be here tonight. And they're not always about fun things or laughing things or coaching things. They're the things that mean a lot to me personally. And I wanted to jot down some notes, and I'm not great at reading from the script. I could be president. But as I thought about what are the most important things that I would want to say about Howard, and I was hoping I didn't have to go last because I'm not sure this is the way you want to end the night, but as I said, I was hoping Steve would go last. Here's what I would have to say. Howard is a father to all those players that needed one at that time. He's a friend to all his friends, especially when they needed a friend. He was a son who honored his mother and father in the absolute best way that you can, by being the kind of man that you would want to raise as a son. And to Erica and his grandkids, he's become the epitome of what the word dad and granddad, that's what they mean. And to Michael, my son, who's Howard's his godfather, I think Howard, more than anybody, has shown Michael what it means to be a man in today's world. And to me, he's kind of like the big brother that I never had. And to everybody that's ever known him, he's everyone that we would aspire to be if we could. I love you, Howie.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I did have some gifts for Howie. It's not a trip to on a cruise, and it's not a trip to Disney, but I do have some special gifts for Howie. But before I do that, because it'll be the last thing I do, and I know it'll be his turn, and most of us, or some of us, will want to exit stage left when he gets a hold of the mic. But I certainly want to thank Trita, who did an outstanding job, and all the members of her committee. I know if you'd just stand and give your hand, Jody, I know, Jerry Colorado, Trita in the back, really Pat, truly an outstanding job. And Howie, like I said, sends cards to everybody. Howie was the best man at my wedding, and my wife and I, Linda, have been married for 43 years, and Howie missed once. He was a day or two late, so I expect this year he'll be on time again, and we appreciate that. But I do have some parting gifts for Howard, and I hope he appreciates them. I was at a retirement party last night, and from Meg, who was a former assistant of mine, and they really had things wrapped nice, and they had bags and the whole 9 yards. It was really nice. I found a box at home, and I put some things in it. I did have a bag. This is an antique bag from Howie's first Final Four in 1974. I think Jim was there, I was there. I was when Coach Dietrich used to have breakfast for all the Connecticut guys. So I looked this up on eBay, Howie, and it goes for $24.99, so you really can't make too much on it. But inside the bag, I have quite a few special things for you. The first is an actual piece of the original central floor. And you notice there's a little spot over here. When we played Bridgeport, and this guy, I think his name was Fowler, was giving Howie a hard time. And by the end of the night, Howie's elbow seemed to find his chin or his nose, and he had to be taken out of the game. So this is an original piece of the central floor, and you're going to say, well, how do you know it's authentic? Well, first of all, I was the AD when they took up the floor. But second of all, as I was going to use them as a fundraiser, I got a cease and desist from the state of Connecticut. They said it was their property and I couldn't sell it. So, but I finally have a few of those. So Howie, a piece of the original floor. Secondly, I have a gift certificate here. Howie and I may be the only AD basketball coach combination that doesn't play golf. However, we both have been quite successful in winning tournaments. The first year that John Nobilski, and many of you know, Central grad, All-American, had his golf tournament, it was a scramble. And a few guys, Fred Odell, Ray Rondini, a couple of those guys picked me as their celebrity. And I had a high handicap. And on the very first hole, Ray Rondini, on a par 3, hits it within 3 inches of the cup. And since I had a high handicap, I had 4 strokes on that hole. I putted in, and Rico's jumping up and down because we're like a minus on the hole. Now, how do you ever get a minus on a golf hole when you get somebody who has a high handicap? So we went on, and the team that I was on won the tournament. The following year, people got smart. Instead of taking someone who was a good golfer to try to win the scramble, they took Howie. And Howie won the tournament that year. So back to back, Howie wins the tournament, I win the tournament. The following year, John changed it to a shamble rather, where you have to drive and then you play your own ball. Well, that effectively ended both Howie and my golf career. But John, being as wise as he is and a Central guy, he got all those UConn guys, Kevin Ollie and so many others, to take golf lessons. And so he made a ton of money off of those UConn guys taking golf lessons because it now was a shamble instead of a scramble. So John, with his winnings, has sent a certificate from Tallwood Golf Clubs, and it says, to Coach Howie Dickenman, unlimited golf lessons. And if you read the small print, it says, non-transferable, but the expiration date is eternity. So we have a whole series of golf lessons for you, Howie, that I'm sure you could use in your spare time. Next I have for Howie, and I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but we all know that the last few years of Howie's coaching was somewhat of a nightmare. But I want him to sleep well, so what I've done is we've taken some shirts from those good years when we had Mickens and Tice and went to the NCAA tournament, and this shirt pillowcase has the going to the dance in 2002 and 2007, so at least Howie can put his head on this and kind of forget those last few years, as he's had some sweet dreams. And, you know, my final gift for Howie, we all know how Howie wants to be Santa Claus. And it was in the papers today, Steve alluded to it, Howie talked about being Santa Claus. Well, I did a little research, and I found out that there's a Santa Claus school in Michigan, and it costs like $500. So I know that there's some envelopes on the table for any of you who would like to make donations for this, for the basketball program and also for the charity. But if you would like to make a donation to the Santa Claus school, see me, and you know, we can work something out. But if we don't get enough money, I at least wanted Howie to have this Santa Claus wig and beard so that he could at least, you know, begin his career as Santa Claus. And maybe Howie will put it on for you before the end of the night as he goes around and takes pictures at the various tables, get his class started, Santa Claus started a little early. And with that, I'm so happy that Howie is one of my friends. Like you said, if he's a friend of yours, he's a friend for life, and you know that you could call on him for anything at any time. And you know, we go way back, and we'll continue to be friends forever, just like he said. You know, he might be a pain in the ass, and he certainly was when he was at Central from time to time. A couple of times, you know, he would say, gee, CJ, we just went on a trip and we had meal, but I want meal money too. And I said, Howie, you're not at UConn anymore, you're at Central Connecticut. So with that, it was a great night seeing a lot of friends, a lot of people who've been in Howie's life, we've had great relationships with. And I almost changed some of the things I was going to say as I saw some new faces around, could add in some different stories. But I know that Howie's going to get his shot at everybody. So without further ado, the man of the hour, Howie Dickenman.
I'm humbled by kind words and thoughts and the attendance here tonight. And I want to thank everyone for being part of the evening and contributing to two good causes, City New Britain and the men's basketball program at Central Connecticut. I was going to acknowledge the committee, but CJ did that. But I would want to acknowledge two people that are here, and one is my daughter, who I would like for her to stand up. She's made me a proud grandfather. And well, the other person that had something to do with that was Christopher Wiegert. He was right there too, so it was a twosome. Stand right up, Christopher. I mean, quite frankly, without him, it wouldn't have happened. And the other person who is a big part of my life is Frida Collier. Stand up, please. And the other, another group probably would be former coaches at Central Connecticut. If you would stand up, please, so I could acknowledge you, former coaches that were on my staff. We've got Toby and Anthony. Stand up, Anthony, stand up. Pat Sellers, Pikes, a lot of good people. You know, the head coach is only as good as the staff he surrounds him with, and the success that we had was as a result of the hard work that the staff members put forth on a daily basis. So I'm very, again, humbled that they did so many good things to make it a success. I feel bad because I have some comments I wanted to make about those different people, but they were so kind tonight to me that I feel guilty that I might say something to offend anybody. But, you know, like, Eddie, you weren't very good, Eddie. I mean, you know, 2 minutes into your talk, 4 people went to the, I think, the restroom. They started pulling out their phones. They started texting. And so I was very glad when you finished, okay? But Eddie was the guidance director at Holy Cross High School. He always wanted to get a job at a public high school which paid more money. But he couldn't because he got an associate's degree from Providence Junior College. And the state wouldn't allow him to have a position like that. So he decided he was going to get back at the state of Connecticut. And he moved. He moved out of Connecticut to Westerly, okay, to save taxes. He won't have to pay for the state of Connecticut. And so this is a person who is affecting our tax rates, education, but very happy with it. He's not a bad guy, but very good, and he is a great guy. He's a great cook. So, speaking of those type of things, Eddie, I have a gift for you. The complete fix-it-yourself for Eddie Generali.
By Howard Dickenman. All blank pages.
And then there's D. Rowe. Now, D. Rowe's title is Special Advisor to Athletics at University of Connecticut. And D, I'm not sure what that entails. Do you know what the job description is for special assistant? Okay, well, I'll tell you what it is. And even Gino, he alluded to it a little earlier when he was speaking, and I'm sure you'll remember. About 35 years ago, Dee met with then Lou Perkins, the athletic director. And Dee's like an ambassador for the University of Connecticut. So Lou said, I want to give you a role to keep you involved at University of Connecticut, as a Goodwill ambassador and that type of thing. But you need to do this 6 times a week. And so he goes, what are you talking about? He said, D, I want you to go to funerals and wakes 6 times a week. And trust me, D loved the job. He would get the Willimantic Chronicle, he would get the Hartford Courant, and he wouldn't turn to the sports page. He'd go right to the obits in section B in the Hartford Courant, and he couldn't wait to see who he was going to go and pay respects to. I mean, he took his job real serious, and he probably went somewhere. Did you go anywhere today? Wake funerals? No, he took the day off. So you know what that means? Tomorrow, he's got to do a doubleheader. He's got to do a mass in the morning, and he's got to catch one of those 4 to 7 jobs somewhere in the local funeral home. Yeah, that's too serious, D. We don't want to, but it's true, and you're right. So, D, what can I do to help you? Let me see what I have.
You are Santa Claus, Howard.
I have 2 ties. I got one for wakes and one for funerals. And then there's Steve Peichel. And the list that we have, I always save the least for last, or the last to be least. And I might add that D is going to be a contributor, and he's going to be inducted into the National Basketball Naismith Hall of Fame in the next induction. His sponsor was Bob Cousy, a lifelong friend from Worcester. So, Bob Cousy, we wrote. So what that does now is it gives us 2 members at the University of Connecticut in the Naismith Hall of Fame. Jim Calhoun, Giro. So, Pikes, as I call him. There's a story that went around, and it's pretty accurate, that when he was at Stony Brook, they had a new president, okay? And so Pikes, he wanted to impress the new president, so he invites them over to the gym to play one-on-one basketball, okay? And the president said, yeah, I'll take you on. So they get in the gym, they put the Converse All-Stars on, and they get ready to play, and the score's like 6-1, and Peichel was thinking the game's on ESPN. He's going between his legs, and he's going around his back. He's doing a stutter step, and thinking like he was still 18 or 19 years old when he was fast and quick at UConn. Fast and quick. A white guy? No, I'm sorry. You were never that fast. You were never that quick, Michael. I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, so he makes this great crossover move, goes into the lane with the left hand, and he collapses. Okay? The next thing you know, ambulance is outside. It's a true story. Am I right, Pikes? Yeah. So he thinks he's a hot shit. But he's on the stretcher, and what happens? He tears severely his Achilles tendon. So now basketball season's starting. He's got a coach. So he gets one of those scooters, where you put your leg up there like that, but it's in a cast, and you keep pushing with the other leg, and that's how he coached that year. And you know what? The players didn't do any footwork drills that season because they were afraid of what might happen. But Steve, I went to 3 of his games this year at Rutgers. And I might add, I went with Pete Cilio and another friend, and they won all 3. Not bad. So I was pleased with that. But when you sit up 6 or 7 rows, you get a different perspective of the coach. So I have something that's going to help Steve and maybe change that perspective. Now, let me just go into my bag here, Steve, and see what I have. Rogaine. Yeah, and then there's Gino. I mean, what can you say about Gino? Comes up to me, and this is another problem we have in the state. He said, I want to be reimbursed for gas to come over here. Gino, I can't do that. Plus, you don't even have a receipt. Mobile gas, $49.84. And then he wanted it back so he could then turn it in again at UConn. So, you know, talk about a double dipper. But anyway, but he's done a lot. Things have changed a little bit. He's on a losing streak right now. Mississippi State. Something for your grandchildren. What's this? Oh. Final Four, Mississippi State. Keep you out of the sun with a Mississippi State hat. $24 too, Gino, not bad. Thank you. So, when you're sitting around and you're looking for something to read, okay, because he likes to read, we got the Mississippi State paper right here. The Clarion Ledger, and no, we wanted to give him something so he would remember the season. So I think that we've done a good job, you know. D, how you doing over there? Don't be fading on me now, okay? Can you hear me? You know, sometimes when you get 89 years old, you slip a little bit. I'll give you 2 minutes to point her out. Look, where's your wife? Come on. Nice job, nice job. He would never forget Jenny, a sweetheart. Well, I'll give you a Burrell story. Maybe a few of you people have heard this Burrell story. I really never called him Scott, I called him Burrell. So we're stretching one day in Gamble, and players are on the floor, they're doing this, they're doing that, and so we're having a visitor come up, and I said to Scott, I said, bro, you want to host a visitor this weekend? And he goes, yeah, because he's like Mr. Social Butterfly on campus. You know, once in a while he go to class, and you know, kind of, if you ever wanted to live the life of a college student for a day, be Scott Burrell, because he had the best of everything. So anyway, I said, bro, you want to host this particular visitor? Yeah, coach. I said, okay, he's coming in tomorrow night, and he's a Mormon. Okay? Burrell goes, what's a Mormon? I said, well, they don't drink, they don't have Coca-Cola, they don't have coffee, no premarital sex, a lot of things like that, you know. So whatever it might be, I just host them and keep it under control. So kid is coming in from Travis Knight from Salt Lake City. And he is a Mormon, but he's 6'9" Mormon. And so at the end of the visit, a couple of days, I called Burrell into the office. I said, Scotty, how was he? He goes, Coach, looked me straight in the eye. He goes, he's a bad Mormon. True story, Scotty. Yeah, true story. Scotty ruined the kid. He ruined it. After that, the hair went down here, tattoos up his left and right arm, but left arm, I should say. But, you know, this was a great evening, and I am so indebted to all you people that came and the nice words that were said. And so, you know, I coined this acronym 21 years ago. It was about HAT, and it stood for humble and appreciative and thankful. And I always tried to preach that to the players on the team and preach it to anybody that wanted to listen. So if we all can be humble and appreciative and thankful for all of the things that we have in this world, it's a better world. So again, thank you for coming. I'm touched. And enjoy. Okay, thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the evening, had some great memories, some great laughs, saw some people you haven't seen, and this will be one of those things that I think you'll remember for a long time and be able to talk about. Be safe. Make sure that if you'd like to make donations, those envelopes are on the table to help with basketball and to help with the New Britain charity. And they'll be outside as well. Thank you and good night.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as LightSource Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you plan you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.